launch into the game. So, without further ado, let's turn it over to moonblazewolf, who will be playing the Final Fantasy X HD Remaster. Blaze.
Oh, hey everybody. How's it going this morning? I hope everybody is enjoying the marathon so far. I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy X HD Remaster on the PC this morning. And we're going to be playing with a very special mod called the Cutscene Remover. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. I want to go ahead and introduce my commentator for this run. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Wody. I am a fellow runner of this game as well. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here for this long run, because it's very hard to solo commentate long runs, and having a wingman definitely helps. We're also going to be talking quite a bit about RNG manipulation, and Wody is one of the folks who has done a lot of the explaining and community building around the RNG tracker, so I really appreciate you here for that as well. So, and then JD, I just want to give you a heads up before we start. I do need the tightest naming donation closed, so that when I get to that prompt, we're ready to enter that right away. So,
all right, shall I close it now and announce the winner?
Yeah, that'd probably be best, and then we can just go ahead and get started from there.
All right, fantastic. Well, let me go ahead and make sure that all of those are indeed closed. So, folks, make sure that you get those donations into those other naming bid wars, because it's going to happen in a snap like that. And it looks like, let me go and do one final refresh here. So, the tightest name that wins is... And that is specifically capital A, capital H, capital A, capital H, capital A, capital H, capital A.
Okay, so start with A and then just alternate until I run out of letters. Got it.
Correct. Yep.
All right. This is already looking like a very typical Final Fantasy marathon speedrun. So make sure you get your Arby's in, and you're trying to think of some of the other memes that we have. But yeah. So no, well, let's go ahead and just get this underway. We'll have a lot to talk about. Time is going to start when not on new game, but there's a menu coming up where I confirm the cutscene remover, and time will be starting there. So I'll go ahead and give you a countdown. All right, and let's go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
And we're off to the races.
Very much so. So the cutscene remover is a really cool mod. I'm going to focus on getting the name here, so just a second. Oh gosh. This is amusing already. Ah ha ha ha. We're going to get a lot of this later. Oh. Funnily enough, I don't usually practice naming things. So yeah, we got... Whoop, and then I talked to the wrong NPC. Okay, so cutscenes are being removed. The cool thing about this mod is it removes all of the extraneous cutscenes from the game. Basically anything where I would either be mashing through dialogue, or I would just be sitting there watching an actual cutscene play out. It still retains basically all of the movement of the original vanilla game. So we are doing an entire playthrough of Final Fantasy X, emphasis on the playing. But because we're removing all the cutscenes and dialogue, it's going to lower the time of the run by over 5 hours. So,
yeah, it's a wonderful project done by a lot of members of the community to kind of help bring new life, you could say, to a run that's notoriously known for being, depending on the category, 10 to 11 hours on PS2, and on TCHD, a little bit more like 9.5, or 9 to 9.5, a little bit under 9 hours as well. So about a whole new level of life for a run that's only like 3.5 to 4 hours, give or take.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Specifically, it actually allows you to practice the run like on a daily basis if you have, you know, like a job. So I'm very grateful. So we need to talk about seeds for right now. So do you want to talk about that, Wody, while I enter some numbers here?
Yeah, so what's going to be happening throughout this run is Moonblaze and myself are going to be attempting to manipulate certain aspects of the run in hopes of acquiring a rare item called the known counter armor, which we'll get into more down the road. But what's happening here is Moonblaze is going to be entering the first 5 damage values, or 6 damage values, from Orin to Titus, and then alternating from there through the rest of this battle here. And those values...
Did you get them, by the way?
Yes, I'm putting them in right now.
Okay.
Those values are actually going to tell us what seed we are currently running on. And from there, throughout the run, yes, we will be running the game and attempting to micromanage data at the same time, as well, to know what encounters are coming, to see what kind of drops we're going to get, so we can know if we need if we're going to be running low on certain things, if we're going to have plenty of certain items. So it's just going to allow us to really get a better idea and make the run a little more, you could say, consistent, since we'll kind of know what's happening up front. But don't be fooled, there's still a lot to take into account, because there are parts of the run that stuff will just happen in that you can't always control on. And so here in the Anemones fight, it's pretty straightforward battle. Oh, we got a crit on Spiral Cut. That's always good. That's always nice to see.
And then I accidentally defended with Orin right afterwards, but that's okay. Yeah,
it's
that kind of canceled itself out. But yeah, so I'm just holding A for the rest of this fight. One thing I do want to mention, we do get to use turbo in this speedrun, which is also fantastic. So
yes, while there may not be cutscenes, the beauty of Final Fantasy X is it's a turn-based game, so the battles actually tend to be fairly scripted, believe it or not, thanks to the years and years of routing from the community. The route has been routed down to a T, that one mistake in certain battles, or just certain mistakes in certain places, really hurt the run to a point where it's possible the run may not be finishable, or you have to do a lot of extra stuff that just outweighs the desire to do it. Like here, we're gonna manipulate turn order by not immediately going into attacks or doing things. We make it so that we can attack the tanker much sooner than we would where it's only I think it's 3 actions, where sometimes it can take up to 6 before Titus is like, oh, what's this over here, when you take it out, because this battle won't end until we destroy that tanker over there to the right. And so once Titus acknowledges it, he will attack it 3 times, and then the battle will end. And we did that by switching weapons, because every action you do in this game, whether it's defending, swapping your equipment, attacking, spells, overdrives, has a different level of turn order affecting. And so swapping weapons is the fastest way to reduce turn usage, and then get your character to basically take their turn again. So you're going to see a lot of turn manipulating, turn order manipulating by doing that stuff.
Easy way to think about it is kind of like a cooldown. So different effects have different cooldowns, and changing weapons has a really quick cooldown. So yeah, so I know what seed I'm on now, and I'm looking at the encounters that are coming up. It's a mixed bag. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. But now we're coming to one of the first boss fights, and I think it'd probably be a good time to talk about the data entry piece that we're doing, because yeah, this isn't just a speed run. We're going to be doing data entry the whole time. Doesn't that sound exciting?
If you're an accountant, probably. If you're data analysis, it's your cup of tea, I would say.
Oh my gosh. The first time I looked at this tracker, I was like, okay, whoever designed this is clearly a programmer for a living. It's great, it works, but it is just a big old list of stuff.
Big old list of stuff. Yeah, yep. Basically, what's going to happen here is first we're going to get through a couple quick battles. We're going to fight some Sahagins here in a little bit. You just kill 2 of them, and then it jumps straight into an unwinnable battle, probably the only unwinnable battle in the game. And then from there, we'll get to our first boss, which is Click. With Click, what's happening between now and the next boss after Click is we need to collect 6 grenades to beat the second boss as fast as possible due to the grenade damage, and then of course just being able to hit the boss from a distance. And so what Moonblaze and myself are doing is we're looking at the tracker and we're seeing, if we steal on this enemy in this specific order, are we going to get a steal? Is the steal going to fail? Do we know it's going to be 1 grenade? Will it be 2 grenades? It allows us to not potentially use wasted turns by doing unnecessary extra actions if we know it's not going to actually benefit in any way.
May I squeeze in a couple of donations?
We need to kind of talk about the RNG manipulation, but we'll definitely have some time for donations soon.
You got it.
Thanks.
So are you?
I just had to do
3 steals.
You're what?
Are you doing 3 steals for grenades? I see.
I haven't checked the third one on Click yet. It seems like that's not going to be too bad. Either way, but yeah, I'll probably do at least 2. Yeah, we're gonna kind of load into the battle here, and then yeah, we'll talk about what we're keeping track of. So steals is one of them.
Yes. Yeah, steals. So when it comes to manipulating RNG for known counter armor, so there's a lot of things you can manip with this tracker. We're going to be specifically focused on drop tracking because that's what's going to get us to known counter armor. And so the things that affect your RNG are going to be your steals will roll RNG, killing an enemy will roll RNG, and your character dying will roll RNG. Ooh, nice crit.
Crits are nice.
And so we need to be mindful of all these actions. So if if a character dies, we need to count that. If we kill an enemy, we need to count that. If we steal, we need to count that. We also have to be mindful of order of operations. Our math experts out there know everything, know all about that order of operations. We learned it all in school. It's also very important because if you steal from an enemy and then your character dies, it needs to actually show that in the tracker. If it doesn't, then things are not going to line up at some point, and then you'll end up being confused. It's like, what happened? How do I fix this?
Yep. So right now I've done 3 steals. The main thing right now, like, we're not looking ahead super far to the point in the run later on where we're looking at the no encounter armor. So basically you just want to keep track of stuff, and like Woody was saying, I want to go ahead and make sure that I can get those 6 grenades with plenty to spare. And if I get an extra one, that's not bad too. That'll help me a little bit later on probably. So so we're just going to be swimming down to the ruins here, and we're going to be doing a couple more steals. So I think, JD, if you do have a couple donations, this would be a great time.
Great, excellent. So we have a $25 donation from the Hellfridge saying, thank you so much for having me and letting me be a part of this awesome marathon. All y'all rock and will continue to rock for the rest of the weekend and beyond. Trans rights. Thank you so much for the donation, the Hellfridge, and for your wonderful gameplay. And a $1 donation from Tauserace saying, I've got an offer for everyone. From now until the end of Final Fantasy X, I shall match all donations, capping at $500. Total submitted at one time at the end of the run. Let's get Klonoa added to the marathon, and we are just under $500 away of reaching that bonus game incentive.
Well, that was interesting. I missed the 0 on the encounter table for this, so I might have to steal from Tross. We'll see, but
you should be fine. You said you got 3 steals from Click.
Yep, I have 3, but I used an extra grenade as well, so I need 3 more.
Do 2 steals before killing a piranha. If this is matching up, you should get a rare steal on the second one. Well, steal for one piranha, swap to the other one, and steal.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yep, I did, and this was a preempt, which was nice too, so... Yeah. Okay, we're good now.
Watch the magic of prediction.
Yeah, we already know what's gonna happen. I'll try not to spoil everything too badly, but yeah. Ooh, I got an overkill too. That was nice.
Nice.
Because those are speed spheres. So, yeah, maybe maybe this is a good time to talk about overkills and speed spheres, and even better. Yeah. So that was actually really nice. So maybe we should explain why that was so nice.
Yeah. So in conjunction with how much this game has been routed, it's been routed so much that there are a specific amount of speed and power spheres that are used throughout the run that are going to allow us to grow our characters in a way that will help us win the battles, with the exception of like mana and ability spheres, because we will automatically get enough of those without any input from the runner. Speed and power are not necessarily going to be the exact amount, so we need 17 speed spheres, and depending on if you win Blitzball or lose Blitzball, you need anywhere from 46 to 47 power spheres. And so what we have there, and this lucked out because we got crits on the piranhas, is that by overkilling an enemy, and that's what some of these strats are intended, is to overkill enemies, some of the bosses and stuff, it actually doubles your item reward when you overkill an enemy. So we went from 1 speed sphere, which is the normal drop, to 2. So right out the gate, we've already got 4 speed spheres. We've only need 13 more to go for the entire run. So that already helps us on a good foot when we get to the Killica Woods area, where that tends to be where you get most of your speed spheres without having to do a lot of extra stuff. And then here on the Trost battle, what we're doing, and this is why we needed the grenades, is that Trost does this thing where as it takes damage, it will rotate around the arena. And then this is where the game kind of teaches you about like command abilities, like in battle, where you can like do certain actions like, you know, run after the enemy, kind of pincer attack them, talk. You'll see a variety of this stuff throughout the run that we'll do at times. And so instead of wasting time in pincering, we throw grenades. And another reason why I do that is if you actually pincer Tross, you actually lose the 2 power sphere guaranteed drop. So Tross actually guarantees 2 power spheres, but if you perform the pincer attack like the game encourages you to do, you actually won't get that reward. Funny enough.
Don't tell me what to do, video game. I'm just trying to go fast. So, one other thing really quick, because it's going to happen quite a few times here in short order, and you may have noticed it, but there's going to be a lot of times during the run where I just kind of go talk to a character, but then like it just immediately loads the next thing. That's the cutscene remover basically making me walk into a trigger zone and then kind of taking the wheel again from there. But it does make you again do all of the movement for the most part in the run, which is pretty great. And one of the cool things about the community too is there's been this effort to kind of align the cutscene remover with the any % run as much as possible for a variety of reasons that are all pretty great. So yeah, there's been a couple different versions, and each one I would say they've been trying to get it a little bit more perfect, which is really cool to see. So
yeah, so we'll have times where like things were taken out for stability, but then they found ways to make it stable, and so they add it back in because it's not necessarily like a full cutscene, so there's still gameplay that is happening there.
Yep. Now we're swimming through the lagoon. If I see groups of 2 piranhas like this one, I'm going to go ahead and fight them. Otherwise, I'm going to try to flee. Looks like baseline, we've got 1 of each, and then if I get a 3rd encounter, it's going to be another fightable one. So we'll see. Not a big deal either way. Because I skipped that original encounter, my time's actually looking really good right now, but that'll probably level out at some point. Each zone, there's like a... maybe what do you know a little bit more about this to kind of talk about the like when you get random encounters and like the danger meter and stuff that maybe RPGs people are a little more familiar with?
Yeah, I can touch on that as a runner of a couple different RPGs. So in games where you can't see encounters on screen, what we have is a danger value. There's a hidden danger value inside the game code that, and there's probably a much fancier way to explain this, but basically there's a hidden danger value, and as you progress on the map, the danger value will increase. And depending on the game, sometimes like if you're walking, it's lower than if you're running, and other various factors. Just depends game on game. And so that's kind of what's happening here. And so what we do is we try to minimize wasted movement as much as possible. So we'll cut corners, we'll hug walls really tight, we'll try to use the shortest distance possible. So you kind of saw in the lagoon there, we were kind of hugging the left wall to kind of use like those angled turns to get across the bends in a much faster way to reduce the encounter. Because the goal of the lagoon is to ideally hope you only get about 2 encounters, and 2 encounters that are hopefully fightable like we just got there, versus like having to flee, because flee's not or escaping's not guaranteed, and we don't get flee until a little bit later in the run.
So interestingly, because of that missed earlier encounter, I had the wrong encounters that I thought I was going to get. So that was actually like a nice pleasant surprise for me, and then it was 2 on top of that. So yeah. I do need to duck in really quick because we're about to start the Besaid Temple, and I need the host to close the Valfor name incentive.
Ooh, Valfor is closing. Let's go ahead and do a quick refresh there and get all of those closed.
Cool, and I'll let you know when I'm ready for it, but it'll be right after this little puzzle sequence, and I think maybe this would be a good time, Wody, if you could just kind of talk about like the temples and the puzzles in this game.
Of course. So the Bevel Temple here. So in the nature of the story of the game, Yuna is a summoner who is on a quest. Basically, she's got to form a bond with all the various Aeons and different temples to defeat Sin. It's probably the most simplistic way I can explain it. It's been a minute for me in the story. You know, no cutscenes, right? Excuse me. And so with each temple, as any RPG game will do, it tries to add more value than just straight combat. And so they have these puzzle temples, and each temple is going to be a little bit different. They all kind of get progressively more challenging in a way, if you will, in terms of like how you control them. And so in this first one is actually very straightforward. It's probably the quickest and easiest. We just have to, you know, we learn about glyphs like touching the wall and triggering things. We learn about different spheres that may do different actions, like activate pedestals or activate walls, or destruction spheres, which are predominantly used to get treasure chests, because you need those treasure chests to get anima as one of the side contents and such. And so here, you know, we're just basically grabbing a sphere, putting it in a pedestal, touching a wall. This temple is basically over at this point. Like once we put this said sphere inside this pedestal, we push it forward onto a trigger point, and then it's over. But as we get to the other temples, you'll see like they get more complicated, they get more advanced and longer in terms of what you have to do. But these are like the trials of the summoner to form a bond with the Aeon here. And this will be our first Aeon, and arguably, yep, I guess Yuna's like, I don't know, like main Aeon, like in a way, like the one she's notoriously known for, because it's unique to this game. I don't think Valifor has ever appeared in another Final Fantasy other than a 10 related game at this point, or a gacha game.
And JD, what is that name?
I hope everyone's hungry, because Valifor is named Arby's.
Oh
my God.
Boy,
it is
what,
Arby's.
Capitalized or no?
Capital A, lowercase RBYS.
All right, good job. I can finally say I got to name a Final Fantasy character Arby's in a Final Fantasy speedrun in a marathon. I think that's like you get like a life unlock for that or something, so. Yeah, thank you so much for your donations. We actually have a chunk of tutorial battles coming up here. One thing I just want to call out before we do that, first of all, Titus just standing there, or ahaha, just standing there while the sleeping noise is playing. Just cutscene remover things. But we're going to run back into Besaid really quick here, because we can actually get a second overdrive for Arby's that you're not supposed to really get until later in the game, but we can just go get it right now. So while I do that, and then we're going to do some tutorial battles, JD, this would probably be another really good time for donations or announcements.
All right, thank you, Blaze. And donations are indeed coming in, especially after Talserace put out that challenge. We have a $12 donation from NPC that says, need more name bids for Final Fantasy X, and that is indeed where Arby's and Bubsy has come into play. So make sure you're checking those out, but you also can get those donations in. We also have a $25 donation from Shripe, saying, go Moonblaze, go matching donations, go fastest furs. And then a couple of anonymous donations, one for $19 without a comment, but thank you so much for your generosity, and a $30 donations from Anonymous, saying, wanted to hop in and donate to such a good cause. Keep up the good work, everyone. Hashtag Bandit Brigade.
Just so everybody knows, we're going to be naming 2 more Aeons over the course of the run. The next one is Ixion, which is going to be closing in probably about an hour or so, and then Bahamut will be the last one, and that'll be closing around the 2-hour mark. So still a couple more incentives. We got a lot going on still this marathon too, so definitely make sure if you do a donation, go ahead and it gets put towards something. So us speedrunners like doing cool stuff for you.
Indeed. Show off all the cool stuff. If you want a full list of incentives, go ahead and type !incentives in chat to go and see everything that you could put your donations to. They won't all be active at the same time, so you'll want to keep your eyes peeled.
All right. So coming up next, we have a fight with Kamari, which is a little bit of a tricky fight, honestly. So Wody, do you want to kind of talk about mechanically how this fight works?
Yeah, of course. So, Kamari, it's a 1-on-1 battle with Titus, and in an effort to go as fast as possible, the people who've routed this have found like the most effective way to win without wasting too many turns, like healing and just trying to get through the fight. So we need to do an average of over 125 or more damage for like 6 attacks or so to actually like beat Kamari. And so right now, from what I'm seeing, we've got a 121, a 120. So we're at like minus, I think it's like 9 right now, 6 right now. So currently the RNG numbers are not in our favor with the attack values. So that would be a +1 added to our existing numbers. So we just have to be mindful of that as runners, that if we're not dodging, if we didn't get a crit attack, and Kamari's landing everything, and we're under damaging from 125 consistently, that we're going to need to like heal, especially when Kamari possibly has 2 turns in a row, and so that will allow us to make sure we don't accidentally die on that fight.
Yeah, so, and I played that pretty safe because I did dodge once, but the damage wasn't really going my way. And you'd be surprised how many times, especially new runners, will die to that fight. And it's not because it's hard; it's just kind of tricky to keep track of everything. So I tend to just play it a little safer.
Yeah, and I don't know about everybody else, but my ability to count, to do math that fast while holding turbo is not the most up to par sometimes. A lot of times with my runs, like I'll be like, all right, +6, +4, and then I lose it. I'm like, plus win, plus lose.
Pray.
Yeah, plus lose. If I get a crit, I'm like, all right, plus win. Because if you get a crit, ideally you are guaranteed to win before Kamari has 2 turns in a row.
Yeah, the ideal situation is just getting a crit because the fight finishes faster. Plus, you can turn your brain off at that point. So.
And depending on your encounters and battles up to this point, like if you fought a bunch of piranhas, if you maybe got an overkill, like if you got a crit grenade on Tross and got extra AP, there's always a chance that you might have like 3 sphere levels before Kamari. And if you wanted to, you can do the upcoming menu that we usually do after this battle with Valifor and Garuda here to give Titus +1 strength, and that will allow him to basically guarantee he'll win, because he'll do like around 140, give or take 150 on his attacks at that point. And so the counting is not necessary. And so these are what's been happening for a few battles here. Is these are all like forced encounters that have been teaching things about the game. So you've got like just taught about how Titus's attack speed. Waka is like a thrower, so his whole shtick is that he has the ability to hit flying enemies at a higher accuracy than like Titus would. And then we learn about elemental stuff, and then here we learn about like summoning and like what Yuna's big play is, because each character has it's not necessarily a job system, but in lieu of like Final Fantasy like 6 or Final Fantasy 4, where the characters had like particular things they were really good at. Now in this game, you can of course modify them through the sphere grid to have the same abilities as their peers, but they don't all. But in the beginning, when you first play this game, you don't really have that access, so they all have kind of like a certain thing that they're really good at over another person.
Yeah, who would do that? Who would put a character in a different character's sphere grid? That just seems silly anyway.
Yeah,
I think we all know that everybody has, like, it's a Final Fantasy game. Everybody has a job, and they just need to stay in their lane. So.
Yeah, totally.
That's a little bit of sarcasm. We'll talk about that more later. One little quick thing before that battle, after that first menu, is I actually took Waka out of the party before that second Garuda fight that I escaped from, because that actually skips an entire tutorial where you learn about Waka's like skill-based abilities. So
yeah, the battle's a little bit slower because the Waka talks, and then Waka has to use Dark Attack, so you don't have the ability to just escape right away. So you lose a little bit of time with that.
Yeah. By the way, we haven't talked a ton about the movement in this game yet. Titus handles like a tank at the best of times, and the camera also makes it worse a lot of the time, honestly, too, depending on which which map you're loading into. So like sometimes you'll just be like holding the analog stick and he'll just randomly start running in a completely different direction. So if I ever kind of peel off of a tight turn, that's why that's happening, I promise. Yeah, I didn't intentionally crash him into a wall.
Yeah, that's one of the fine skills you learn running this game, is how to run with Titus.
Yes. He has a mind of his own sometimes.
The awkward
right.
like moments where you just hold and then.
Yep. So now we have a pretty heavily scripted boss fight with Sin, I guess,
Yep.
in Spira as opposed to Xanarkin. So I'm gonna focus on that here.
Yeah, and I can kind of talk about what's going to be happening here. So as we mentioned a few times, a lot of these battles have been routed and to a point where they're basically scripted. So as long as you perform the action the same time, every time, and your menus and all that have been correct, it should always play out the same for the most part. So what we do here is we bring in Lulu for Yuna, and we have Lulu and Kamari use their turns to attack the Finn just to add some damage to it, and then Titus is going to defend for his first 2 turns, because defending uses a lot less like turn order than attacking or any other sort of action. And so after we've attacked twice with Lulu and Kamari, Titus is actually going to swap in with Yuna, and then we're going to cast Energy Blast to get through this first phase with the Sin Fin. We got lucky with the turn order speed.
And I didn't nuke the boat. That's very important.
This is a runner's rite of passage. Jokingly, every runner, I guarantee you, that runs this game will blast this boat with that energy. It's where you target the Sin scales on the boat instead of the fin, because depending on your turn order, sometimes the fin moves again, and so in this case we got lucky. Titus got their 3rd turn before the fin, and so as a result we did not have to worry about changing the directional input, because yeah, the camera angle affects if right does right or up does up, and vice versa. And so now we're on to phase 2. Sin Eugene, I jokingly, and I think a lot of us like to call her Ecules, is the official name. Basically, Titus has been knocked into the water, and Waka's gone to basically help him, and so now they've got to deal with this like offshoot of Sin. And so this battle is pretty straightforward. Ultimately, what we do is Titus will use his cheer ability, depending on if you got the strength node or not, anywhere from 2 to 4 times. And then Waka is actually going to use Dark Attack, so that way the Sin, that way Ecules here can't heal for her first couple attacks through Drain Touch. Because what we're doing here is we're basically just trying to build some damage up to a point where Titus will use Spiral Cut to finish off the rest of the battle, essentially at this point. So after we see Blender, depending on if we get crits or not, if we get 2 crits from Waka or 1 crit from Titus, is when we'll trigger the Spiral Cut generally. And so we do about 4 attacks, so each will do 2 attacks each. Depending on crits, then we'll adjust for a Spiral Cut at that point.
No crits today. That's okay. We get the slow fight. Interestingly, on the RNG tracking side, I do have to actually update it based on if I finish the fight before or after more Sin scales show up, because the game does count them as enemies that die.
Yep.
So we got that all going good here. I should get a yellow shield and a water Moomba here if I've been tracking correctly. Yep. We're good there. Skip this. That is the one cutscene or FMV or whatever that still plays that we have to skip. And now we have arrived in Kilika.
Yeah. Good old Kilika. So we've moved on to our next town, where the next temple is for Yuna's next bond to be formed. Here you get a beautiful cutscene that we don't get to see of the sending, where we see kind of Yuna do her thing to send the lost souls back to the far plane.
Just to give you some idea too of how much, especially because this game is really front loaded with a lot of story and cutscenes, if I was doing this without the cutscene remover, we'd probably be close to the 2-hour mark at this point.
Yeah, give or take. Blitzball's about 3 hours into a cutscene like an 80% run, so yeah.
Yep. And we do have another tutorial coming up here where we learn Kamari's Lancet ability, which is actually really good for the speedrun. So you want to talk about Lancet a little bit?
Yeah, Lancet is an ability that actually it's basically Kamari's job as a blue mage, ultimately, with Lancet. And so what we're going to be doing throughout the run, so the game teaches you here, and so you have to use it, is we're actually going to be using it at a number of times to learn certain abilities that will help us with some of the battles. So later on, you know, we'll use it to learn like self-destruct. We'll use it to learn like Stone Breath, which are 2 key abilities for a number of battles we have here. What's great about it is whenever Kamari does learn an ability, he gets an instant overdrive, which is key in getting through a couple battles really fast because he can just steal an ability from the enemy and then just instantly use it at that point.
We're also going to learn the Flee ability here on Titus's grid, which is very, very important to the run.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, we have the ability to now flee instantaneously. No more random escaping.
Yep, and I'm going to do something a little different than what it normally happens during these runs, because I definitely want all 3 encounters here. So I'm going to fight this first one, I'm going to run from the second one, and then I'm going to recharge RB's overdrive on the third one. So normally I'm going to come up here and get a Lux Sphere. Normally I would get that on the way out, but because I definitely want 3 encounters anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get it now.
Yeah, this is where like the RNG tracking comes into play, because you can see what encounters you're going to get. So, you know, for the sake of magic, the next encounter will be a Regora plant.
Which we don't like. We don't like this fight. Yeah.
Magic.
Yep. But the key is I need to recharge RB's overdrive before the next boss fight, because we do need that. So I'm just going to stay here until I get the third encounter, and then I will be able to charge that up. Assuming, okay, good. I was a little worried he was going to get like turned to stone or something there. This very, very, very rare thing that can happen sometimes.
It's not bad. Sometimes getting the Lux Sphere a lot of times will get you 3 encounters. It looks like in this case RNG decided to be nice to us, and potentially if we didn't need that encounter for the overdrive building, we would have only had 2 encounters and picked up the Lux Sphere, which is actually really, really good in this case. But
yeah.
Talk about what's going on here. We do this couple times, like twice in the run, where we do this a specific way. Build overdrive on Valifor, because as you saw with Sinfin, the energy blast ability does a lot of damage, and so we use that on a couple boss battles to basically defeat the boss as quickly as possible, because right now we don't have the levels to be as strong as we would like. You'll see later on in the run where the characters start doing a lot of the damage, and then we go back to the Aeon stuff for like the end game. And so we do specific actions like boost. This has all again been routed heavily to where certain encounters we do certain actions, and then Valifor have the overdrive. Because then on this battle against Sinspawn Jean or Genu, I've never learned how to actually say that word.
Yeah.
Geno, I think it's like Sinspawn Geno.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, run with it. We use Energy Blast, so basically Titus attacks if he goes first, so this is where turn order can sometimes affect your strat. We got the Titus going first, which is ideal. Titus goes, attacks, does a little bit of damage, and then we bring in Yuna. Energy Blast, it kills the 2 fins behind, or the tails tentacle things, and then it opens up its shell, and then from here we just kind of spam fire to kind of finish out the battle at that point.
And the nice extra effect of this is we are going to charge yet another overdrive that we will use a little bit later on. So it's really great that these battles are so consistent and scripted due to the way the battle system works in this game. So I think we're just going to finish up this fight, and then the Kilika Temple is coming up after this. It's sort of our second of the temples, and there's not too much to say about that, I don't think. So I think, JD, you've got a nice chunk of time here if you want to get caught up on donations and announcements.
Yes, thank you so much, Blaze, and really awesome gameplay so far. So yes, you heard it, folks. We want those donations coming in, and throughout the weekend, we welcome donations of all sizes supporting our charity, Trans Lifeline. You don't even need to make a big donation to make a big impact. Just $25. Only $25 connects one person in need to the Trans Lifeline peer support hotline. Even a $5 donation, when combined with 4 other people donating the same $5, which we know that Talserace is going to be one of those 4 people, can have a meaningful impact on someone's life. Please consider donating now by typing !donate in the chat, and let your friends know how they can help as well. Let's get those donations coming in.
Sounds good. And if you want to read 1 or 2 more things, I'm just going to be doing this puzzle sequence here too, so...
Sure thing. If you like puzzle sequences and video games in general, we're really proud. Right. We're really proud to be sponsored by Cowcat Games. Their newest release, Brock the Investigator, is now out on Steam and GOG. Brock delivers a narrative-rich, fully voice-acted experience in a futuristic cyberpunk world where animals have replaced humans. Go figure, this might be a good community for that. The story is filled with characters reminiscent of classic 80s and 90s cartoons and combines a classic adventure with beat-em-up and RPG elements. Download the prologue now to play the first of 6 chapters for free on Steam, and donate at least $5 for a chance to win a copy of the full game on Steam for yourself. You can find them on Twitter at CowcatGames.
So JD, can I tell you where I thought you were going with that?
Where?
I mean, I obviously thought you were going to Furry Logic with that, but I have a follow-up. I actually have a follow-up question to that, because these temples are basically escape rooms, if you think about it. So, like, you know a lot about escape rooms. What do you think about these things so far?
I might know a thing or two. So, I mean, escape rooms in general are find the thing, put it in the right place, find the next thing and put it in the right place, and that's what a lot of these things are. I really love escape rooms as a physical analog version of what we all love and enjoy in these games too. So it's really exciting to be able to see this, because I'm like, yeah, that's how you do the thing, and it's really cool to be able to bring some of that magic in real life with the on-event escape rooms.
Maybe you'll get some ideas for a new escape room from watching this run.
You might pick up a thing or two from different video games here and there.
I wouldn't recommend the Kilika one, though, because first of all, fire is dangerous liability-wise, and second of all, you're going to go through so many doors.
Yeah, it's you got to pick and choose your battles, I guess.
All right, so anyway, we got Ifrit. If all goes well, we will actually not use Ifrit at all in this run, so that's why they don't have a naming incentive, for example. But yeah, we're just going to be running back through the woods here. My first encounter is going to be a good one, because I'm trying to rack up kills for XP as well as speed spheres at this point. And then after this, we'll be off to Luca, and we can start talking about the wonder that is Blitzball.
How will go so easy?
Do we have to?
Oh gosh, I think we do have to, actually. Okay, now don't go get the speed sphere, because this is normal, or the luck sphere, because that's normally when you go do that. Good job, Blaze. Okay.
And we have plenty of time to get into some Blitzball love here. We got some other stuff happening before that, of course.
Live and let live.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a couple things between now and then, so there'll be some stuff to talk about, but for the most part, I'm just trying to get out of the woods right now. Should only get one more encounter, and it's gonna be another running one. Or I could get none. That's also fine.
Hey, I mean, that's good. I mean, yeah, with outgoing for the luck sphere, you have a good shot at potentially only doing 2 encounters in and out of the tunnel and such.
Yeah, I feel like when I go get the luck sphere, I always get 4, so that's why I'm kind of shocked to see 2. So like -1 seems like getting 3 seems great, and then like 2 just seems like a luxury. So anyway, we're gonna talk to this guy now. He's not great, but he's gonna help us out. So.
Yeah, we're gonna give some money to Owaka here.
Yeah,
we give him money because it's gonna manipulate what he has to sell in his shop. Because later on we're going to buy some stuff from him at different parts of the run, and so we just need to give him that 1100 gil, and that will allow us to have the item inventory that we need. And then here is where this is where, as mentioned about Blitzball, the game is trying to introduce you to parts of Blitzball, so it gives you the ability to learn the Jex shot. We're not going to actually learn the Jex shot for 2 reasons. One, it's slower. It's actually slower in any percent run, but in a CSR run, it crashes the game.
Yeah, this is very like. We definitely expect you as CSR players to stick to the script regarding the speed run, and that is probably the best example of that. Is if you happen to get the Jex shot, too bad, you just ended your game. Yeah,
pretty much. While the Jex shot is technically makes Blitzball like easier, to my understanding. I've never gotten it, so I could be wrong in that assessment, but it makes Blitzball, I think, a lot easier to win, because we ideally want to win it. We'll get into why we want to win here in a moment. But yeah, no, because it's slower and we're trying to make CSR as close to any percent as possible, it had never basically come up as like oh, let's keep this in kind of thing. And so yeah, it just crashes. It's a pretty common thing for new runners.
Yeah.
To go for it, and then it's like, oh, what happened here?
Because obviously, if you're just doing normal any percent, you can get it, and it's just, you know, it is what it is. But then you do the cutscene remover, and you go get Jack shot, and you're just like, what happened? I don't understand. And then on the Discord, we're all like, yeah, you just broke your game. Sorry. Oh, my game just crashed, actually.
Oh,
that is not good. Speaking of that, hold on. I will try to get it back up. The game does have an autosave system. Am I still in Discord and everything?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so actually only my game crashed. That's fun. So it'll be back up in a second, and we'll figure out where my autosave was. I don't know how this is going to affect the RNG tracking.
So in this case, the RNG tracking actually would be inusable, believe it or not. So with the nature of RNG tracking and how seeds function, if the game is closed, you completely lose that seed at this time. So you can load your autosave. Just anything we're tracking right now will not match up, unfortunately. So we get to do, we'll be doing an old-fashioned, traditional speed run here.
Okay.
So
well, that's a lot less data entry for me to do. The other nice thing is it kept the name. I was a little worried about that for a second. So, all right. Well, now we're flying blind just like all of you. So we're gonna get surprised and excited. Buckle in. Whoops. And also my memory cursor's gone. So I'll have to be careful of that for just a second. I don't know what to say. I've been putting a lot of strain on my computer with the marathon the last few days, and it probably just had a moment, so... hopefully it won't happen again. I'm sorry about that, everybody.
It's fine.
And that's all good. We're just gonna be seeing a lot of really good, skilled gameplay throughout, and I mean, we'll push through the run as best as we can.
Yeah. The other unfortunate part, though, is I do like to show off the manipulation of getting the no encounter armor if possible, and that's basically not going to happen at this point. So I'm sorry about that, everybody. On the just to sort. Oh, whoops, that's fine. Just to sort of put a bow on that, though, because we're talking about it. So the no encounter armor, you get about in this cutscene remover, you get it about usually 2 hours and 45 minutes or so into the run. Between then and the end of the run, it usually saves about 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how easily you're able to obtain it from the encounter. So it's not like a huge difference, but if you're going for like a PB, for example, like you definitely need to get it.
Yeah, and it can also like ultimately depend on the time that you're also at too, because as Moonblaze just said, like, you know, it is about 5 to 7, 8-ish minutes, depending on, like, you know, how quickly you get it, because there's a lot of like different ways to get it that use up more time than others. And then of course, like, finishing the game and your menu speed and stuff. And so, you know, depending on where your PB's at, there's always plenty of time to, like, you know, not worry about it. You can get it later. Like, for context, my PB in this game is 3 hours and 18 minutes. And that is with no manipulation whatsoever. There's no RNG tracking, no nothing. Just pure running the game at this point. Whereas, like, and that's prospectively like 10th place on the leaderboard, and every run above mine is RNG tracking. So, you know, those are like 301s and 302s and 3s and 5s and 7s. So,
yeah, it's definitely a way to kind of get from like the A tier to the S tier. So it's not the end of the world. It's more just like from a showcase perspective, I would have liked to show it off, but it is what it is. So there's no use crying about it. There's no crying in There's no crying in Blitzball.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to show off because of how rare of an item it actually is. I don't know if you have the numbers off the top of your head, but it's like you have to like get an encounter with a ghost enemy, and so like getting the ghost enemy encounter also has its own like low percent rate, and then after you get the battle, you have to like defeat the enemy, hope he has a chance to drop an equipment item, hope that equipment item is an armor piece, and then hope that armor piece has no encounter armor on it. And so it's like a very, very low percent rate. There was a speedrunner for the PS2 before RNG tracking was a thing. They spent an entire year straight grinding the PS2 any% category. It's about a 10-hour run trying to get the armor naturally, and they got it twice.
Yep, that is quite the epic tale. Definitely. The resource I like to point everybody to is there was a YouTube video made by Dr. Swellman on YouTube where he talks about the evolution of the RNG tracking, and it kind of dovetailed like right when I was getting into the run myself. So, but it's a really good explainer on kind of, you know, what's going on under the hood with this game RNG wise, and how like the total community effort it took to find it, because it was pretty remarkable, honestly. Anyway, we're fighting the Obliterator here. I'm going to drop a crane on him. The one nice thing about, well, I shouldn't say nice, but possibly a silver lining is I do actually have a chance to get a lightning weapon from this enemy now, which I didn't have in the last seed, so we'll see what happens here.
That's true. Yeah, this battle is pretty, again, more scripted battling here, so everything you'll see us do is going to be intentional, I promise you. What we do instead of attacking the Obliterator, mostly because, one, we haven't exactly been leveling our characters, so we're still pretty base level stats here for the most part, and we thunder the crane, because if you thunder the crane 3 times, it allows us to use it, and as you saw, we can use the crane and it will basically do like almost 6k in damage. Hey, there's the lightning steal.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. That is going to help make the Sahagin battle after Blitzball a lot faster. Do you do the strat that like guarantees overkills with all attacks?
Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me. Do you happen to know how many cheers it is right off the top of your head? I think for just lightning steal, it's 3. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You haste yourself, cheer 3 times, defend with Waka until after the 3rd cheer, and then haste Waka, and then just hold turbo.
Sounds good. All right,
Blitzball.
but we have arrived at Blitzball. Oh my goodness,
Woo!
This is the moment in the run.
The moment. Blitzball! Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam.
Okay, so I'll just get this out of the way. If things go well, we'll have a lot of time to talk about this during the beginning or the end of the first half here. But for all the talk about RNG manipulation and stuff so far, nobody knows how to RNG manipulate Blitzball so that you win every time, or even close to every time. So we're just using best practices basically and hoping for the best.
Pretty much, yeah. I've read some thoughts about like RNG, and like it apparently rolls RNG a lot. Like whatever value of RNG that controls Blitzball, it rolls like crazy throughout the run. So yeah, this is the one manipped aspect of the run we don't have at this point. And you would think, oh, cutscene remover, why not just get rid of Blitzball? Well, it's still gameplay, and collectively makes no sense to remove it. So that's why we still have it. And so what's going to happen here is the goal of the first phase, or first half, if you will, is to, well, one, make sure the goers don't score there, which, can vary if Grav gets the ball. He did. Thankfully, his shot failed, and we got the ball back. And then the goal is to get Titus to touch the ball, just touch the ball and pass it, because he needs to get a little bit of experience, because each character will gain experience based on actions. And the reason for that is because it's going to give him enough experience to use his sphere shot ability in the second half, which is why we don't try to score in the first half. And so once Titus gets the ball, we throw out the Jasu, and then depending on if we've got aggro or no aggro, we'll do kind of what you see here and just kind of hide behind Keepa, because for whatever reason, the enemy's window of aggro is a lot smaller, or doesn't really reach out to where they're like, hey, this guy's just chilling back there, I'm just gonna go after him. Though there are rare cases where Grav, like, for some reason, like, beam lines to you, which makes no sense why it happens, but it does. It's a thing. Yeah. You just gotta, that's why it's like, it's one of those like gambles of like, do I go to the bathroom? Do I not go to the bathroom? Like, what is the risk here?
Keep is doing a good job right now. If you have any spin emotes in the chat, this is a great time to spam some spin emotes, and we do have about a minute while the first half winds up as well. JD, if you have any donations or announcements.
Yes, actually, I've been trying to edge in for a bit. So yes, we were talking about no crying, some things to really cheer about. Twallow gave a 5 gift tier 1 gift sub bomb here inside the chat. Thank you so much for that. I want to remind everyone that all revenue from Twitch subscriptions and cheered bits received in the weekend will be donated straight to Trans Lifeline. So do consider subscribing now. Do consider giving those gift subs to be able to get those adorable PB the Cheetah emotes inside chat. And don't forget to check to see if you got your free Twitch Prime Gaming sub as well.
All right. Yes. Yeah, and we're winding down here, so the second half will be a little bit more active, but yeah, ideally what happens in the first half is you win the blitz off, immediately pass to Titus, then pass to Jasu, and then you just do this for like the entire first half. So thankfully Grav didn't score on us, and we're good, so now we can execute our second part of the plan here coming up in the second half. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it really just kind of depends on, do we win the blitz off, do we get the ball? So the goal ideally here is we're going to get the ball into Jasu's hands, and then Jasu is going to, depending on how much time remains on the clock, we'll either wait out, so we got the blitz off, so that's great. So we're going to pass it to Jasu, and then we're going to usually hide or wait or just do something to not draw aggro as much as possible until about the 2-minute and 20-second mark, give or take, because the goal here is like we want to do blitzball fast, which means we don't want to be moving around too much. We don't want to open the menu. So anytime you run into an enemy player, the game clock pauses, and obviously as speedrunners we don't like paused clocks. We need them clocks to keep going, ideally. We're not going
to get aggro there.
Maybe
that's fine.
That's fine. It happens. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe we don't. Whatever. We want the time to go fast, and it wastes time to draw aggro and stuff. So sometimes what we have to do there is, if we draw aggro, we have to like break through Abyss, and then from there, you know, the character kind of runs away, and then we just kind of hope they don't pull the aggro back. It just kind of depends on, you know, if they're in the window or not. So it looks like Abyss is being a little aggressive. It happens. That's just the beauty of the blitz ball sometimes. But once we get to about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, then we're going to kind of implement the plan of action to get Titus the score. Man, he is really going for you today.
Yeah, but I am actually set up hopefully to get a goal here. So
yeah,
actually this is fine. I'm just going to do it from here.
Okay. Because yeah, what essentially happened, the goal is at about 3, and the reason why we're doing 220 for context is around 220 is because,
oh, I got a low roll. Okay, this might not work. We'll see.
Worst case, we'll just score with Waka.
Yes, we got it.
Okay, nice. I think I have like a few second delay.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. So we scored. But yeah, that's essentially what we're going for, because at 3 minutes, the cutscene would normally play where Waka decides to make his like triumphant return and everything to the battle, and then, you know, he takes, you know, his place for like Titus, because he's gonna like retire, and so it's kind of his like last moment to shine and stuff. And scoring with Waka is a little more challenging. His shot isn't as high as Titus, because Titus' sphere shot, as you saw, the numbers will rotate. You can get up to like a 28 or something, whereas Venom shot has like a fixed shot rate on it.
Yeah, I think it's like 16.
Yeah. So at 3 minutes, the game will kind of do a fade out because it normally triggers a cutscene. And then goes into the last 2 minutes of the second half. But now that we've scored, the goal is to hopefully just get the ball, and then we're essentially going to, you know, wait and win. And we switch between, and the reason why we trigger things like mark mode and switching to, like when they have the ball, why we do things like mark mode and then right side is because it manipulates the players, the AI's actions to allow us to try and get the ball back, essentially. Because what it'll do is it will, you know, make the characters like go to the right side. So that's why Jasu and Bada a lot of times are the ones contesting, like Grav, if Grav or somebody goes to shoot, for instance, and it just allows us to reduce the chance of them scoring.
I think we're good. Grav is making me a little nervous. No, wait. Okay. Stay away. Stay away.
And sometimes what we can do.
Spin. All right, we're good. All right, getting the blitzball win makes the rest of the run infinitely easier, especially for me, because when you're going for PB and you don't win blitzball, you reset, and so I don't have a lot of practice doing blitzball loss. So this is very good.
It's also about a 3-minute time save too. So you can definitely do the run still without winning blitzball, and if you're new to the run, it's definitely encouraged, just so you can learn the run more and more. And plus, you never know, you might be in a marathon and have to use blitz loss because you're not going to reset anyway. So it's always helpful to still know what it is.
I have to tell you, the biggest weight is off my back now. Like, that is the scariest part of the run, actually, is if you lose blitzball in a marathon setting.
Oh yeah, then you gotta potentially do strats you haven't touched in a while, because with winning blitzball, I don't think we mentioned it, you get a strength sphere, and the strength sphere is going to allow us to get a extra 4 strength on Titus around the Seymour menu before we fight Seymour, and that's going to allow us to do a lot more damage to some of our bosses and just kill them a lot quicker. And because we got the lightning steel, one of the members of the community, Crimson Inferno, found a strat. While the strat itself is slower, it will ideally guarantee you around 9 to 10 power spheres, which is ultimately the amount we need for the run, because you get about 35 guaranteed power spheres.
I get 37 because I always do Riku's tutorial, the way that gets you 2 power spheres. So yeah.
Yeah. So there's a Riku's tutorial when we learn about her overdrive. Actually, can get you 2 if you choose to kill the enemy there. So it's either 35 or 37. So this will give you 10, ideally, because you get 17 guaranteed from this fight, and every overkill is an extra 1. And by doing this strat where we equip the lightning steel, we cheer 3 times because it boosts your attack strength. It allows us to not only guarantee that every time Titus hits the enemy, it's an overkill, but Waka, who normally can't one-shot these enemies, unless he gets a crit in most cases, to actually just throw the attack and actually kill the enemy. So it does allow us to basically just hold turbo for the rest of this battle.
Yeah, I got 28 power spheres there. That was quite good. Nice.
So we got, what is that, 11? I can't do math. That's 11.
It's a lot. It's enough that I probably don't need any more.
And then here,
yeah, we'll double check that later, but I think I'm in pretty good shape. So
yeah, ideally you should be. I can't remember how many you had before with the tracking, but I think you got a couple extra ones in a few places, but ultimately we should be fine with 11. And here we meet the big baddie himself, Orin. He's the real mascot of this game. Let's be real, people. He's the real mascot. Like,
yes.
Titus who? Come on, Orin in his old man age. But here, Orin joins the party. Basically, after Blitzball, an attack has basically a bunch of monsters have attacked the arena, and so we're just trying to get out and survive and fight off these enemies. And so Orin decides to come out of the shadows there and finally make himself present and join us in our plight. And so fighting Garuda here, the first battle, it's just attack 1 time and we win automatically. But with Garuda here, because of the damage that Orin does compared to the other 2, we want him to be the main focus. So as you saw early on, we hasted, and from there we just kind of keep having Orin attack. But the tricky thing we have to be mindful of is, 1, we have to get Titus to attack at least 1 time, so the damage output kills the enemy at a certain turn or a certain number of attacks. And so we have to heal Titus so he gets weak, and we have to make sure Orin doesn't take too much damage, because Garuda has a chance to counter, which we kind of want to a degree, because we need to build up Orin's overdrive for a bit later in the run for one of the enemies. So we have time to do it, but there are times where Orin just doesn't get attacked and you have like a risk of it not happening. So
yeah, well, we're off encounter tracking at this point, so it's gonna we'll probably get attacked quite a bit unknowingly anyway. So but I do just want to cue everybody up that the cutscene that you all donated for is coming up in just a moment here, so we're gonna pause and let you all enjoy that.
Yeah.
As soon as I get on this next screen, and then I'm actually This is a long run, and I'm gonna take a quick AFK while it's playing, so hope you all don't mind.
In addition there, we did run backwards and open up 2 chests because Riku, who plays a pretty big part in some of the mid part of the run, does need those spheres to do things. But enjoy the cutscene.
Yep, everybody enjoy.
You got pretty good.
You sound sad.
Yeah, maybe.
Want to scream?
I really don't think that's gonna help this time.
You know what? It's embarrassing to say this myself, but summoners and their guardians are kind of like Spira's ray of light. A lot of people in Spira depend on us. I learned to practice smiling when I'm feeling sad, you know. I know it's hard.
Yeah. I understand. I think.
Right. Now let's see what you can do.
Huh?
Come on.
This is weird.
Next, try laughing out loud.
What?
Come on, show me. You probably shouldn't laugh anymore.
Oh good, I got back for the good part.
Too funny.
It was your idea.
Thank you.
Huh?
I want my journey to be full of laughter.
Okay.
If we should get separated, just whistle. I'll come running. I promise.
Well, let's go. What are you looking at?
We were just worried you guys might have gone crazy.
Sorry. Well then, all right. Now, we will go to the temple at Joe's.
Okay. And I had to quickly re-trigger the cutscene remover before that cutscene ended, otherwise it actually gives you 2 additional ones. But yeah, thank you again everybody who donated for that. That very misunderstood cutscene, let's say.
It's awesome.
No way.
Very, very, very misunderstood. And we're off to the races again.
Yep, and I got another random extra power sphere, so go
Hey, got the
this
crit.
party.
Woohoo!
For everything else, this party is not going to make me stress about spheres today, which is nice, so.
How you looking on speed?
I'll check in a bit. That one's a little easier for me to keep track of, so. And I actually, oh, this is actually good. I need this. I have a feeling
perfect.
I'm gonna have to kill a raptor or two, so I'll probably get a couple extra doing that also. I need the self-destructibility from this bomb, so you have to, sometimes you have a hard time finding it. In this case, we did not, so very good.
Yeah, normally if you are RNG tracking, you'll know like which encounter the bomb should be, so you can kind of, you'll have more of like a rest of ease to like, I was like, cool, I got a bomb, I'm good. If you don't track or you're still doing the run, then it's like, is it a bomb? No. Is it a bomb? No. Is it a bomb? No.
Yeah.
I've gotten the bomb on the final possible encounter because you've got a bit of stretch of land because we're going to be going through Mihin Road here and then Old Road and then part of Mushroom Rock Road. So we've got some time here, but welcome to Mihin Road. This is what we kind of call the beginning of the mid game after Blitzball. So here is where enemies have a chance to not only outspeed you, some enemies like the wolves, but there's also where ambushes become very dangerous. So there's a particular formation of enemies that if you get ambushed, it's very dangerous. Sometimes it just doesn't work in your favor, and the enemies do just enough attacks to take you out of commission, because if Titus goes down, you don't have flee, and you go back to relying on escape to work. And depending sometimes on what happens, either the escape works or it fails, and then you're flying by the seat of your pants at that point.
Yep. So we'll plan for the worst and hope for the best here. So.
But and then early on at the beginning, we learned about piercing. So the game, another tutorial, the game teaches you about piercing, which is kind of like Orin's like shtick, his thing, where his weapons have the ability to hit for normal damage through armored enemies, essentially. And that's why when Titus attacked, did no damage, and then when Orin did, it basically took him out on like one hit, essentially. And so from there, we basically just run through the rest of this map as best as we can. You get around anywhere from like 10 to 11 encounters on Mihin alone. Early 2 screens ago, you did see us talk to a random NPC. So a lot of NPCs in this game will randomly, not randomly, but they'll give you items. And again, thanks to the level of routing that's been done, we have found, which NPCs are best to talk to, which items are going to help us the most, while also minimizing, time loss from having those interactions. And he gives you a hunter sphere. And the reason why we want that is because that hunter sphere sells for about 4,000, just under 4,000. It's like 3,937 gil, and we have a menu coming up that we need about 11,000 gil for to be able to afford a weapon that will get rid of the ambushes. So then we at least don't have that in our face anymore.
Yep. I will say, when I played this game casually growing up, I was already pretty predisposed to liking Kamari, and then that dude gave me the Hunter Spear, and I was like, oh man, this guy's gonna be he's gonna carry for a while.
Hey, I'm a guardian now, so watch out. Live and let live.
And so we're almost out of Mihin.
And then we have a boss fight coming up, which is a little different than a lot of the boss fights that we do in this game. So, Chocobo Eater.
Yeah, Chocobo Eater. So Chocobo Eater, we'll get to in just a moment here. A little bit more story. This is a pretty lengthy cutscene. Normally, if you're playing with cutscenes like that happens here, it's a good break point for the any % runners. A lot of cutscenes at this point, normally. But when we go fight the Chocobo Eater, the thing about the Chocobo Eater is it's one of the few battles, kind of like the Geo Gisano, I've never learned how to say its name, but where you don't necessarily have to win the battle, and mind you, if you do die, it is a game over, but it's sometimes just a battle of like outspeed or not outspeed. But the goal is we're going to haste the Chocobo Eater, because we actually want the Chocobo Eater to get more turns. Because at our level here, we can't actually kill this enemy, and so instead, what we're hoping for is he's going to push us off the cliff here, which will end the battle but not cause a game over. And so what we ideally want to see here is actually what we just saw. We want to see him attack, and then push us, and then attack, and then push us. That's actually the fastest version of this battle, because he can't push you twice in a row. So that was actually ideal. So he hits us, pushes, hits, push, and there you go. Battle's over. No game over. We didn't have to worry about fighting it, and we just carry on through the old road here.
We take the walk of shame on the old road now, so
case,
hopefully no
fine.
scary encounters down here, but probably another good break point for donations, because when we get to the next area, we're gonna have quite a bit to talk about probably.
Great, sounds good. Well, Gar earlier gave a $250 donation that says trans rights. Gar, thank you so much for the donation. And we, oh gosh. We also have a $5 donation from Anonymous saying, JD said it's so good at the start. Let's see if we can get a laugh train going. Oh my goodness.
Oh man, the laugh track.
Laugh track.
Also, thank you so much, Gar, for that donation. I had the pleasure of meeting Gar and hanging out quite a bit at RPG Limit Break. They're one of the runners in the upcoming Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide race that we have after this, which also has a Save or Kill Sid incentive, and it should be a lot of fun. That is a really cool randomizer, and we're really excited to show it off here at Fastest Furs, so thank you.
Nice. All right, got out of old road fairly unscathed, which is always nice to see. Now we just got to get through Classico skip screen, and we should be, well, in a safer place from the dual horns, but...
Yeah, this next section is fairly technical. Whoops, I almost ran backwards for some reason. There's actually a lot we really need to accomplish, not on this screen, but in the two screens afterwards.
Yeah.
So we'll get through this screen. If you ever watch a non-cutscene remover run, there are a few spots. Okay, it wasn't the bad ambush. Hopefully we're okay. Now we should be definitely fine. This is one of the. There's actually a few cutscenes that you can skip in the any percent run, and this is one of them on this screen right here. But once we get off of this screen, we're gonna need to do several different things that are kind of like farming related, I guess I would say, on this screen mainly. I need to take at least 2 encounters. I'm probably gonna have to take 3. And I have a couple different objectives that I want. The first thing I'm going to need to do is I want to find an encounter, hopefully with a Fungar. Not this one, unfortunately. But I need to use that overdrive that I built up with Valfor a few screens ago. Or actually, it was at the end of the boss fight outside of Kilika. So it's been quite a while now, but we've been saving that overdrive for this area here, so okay, well, it wasn't great, but at least I can farm out Raptor here.
Yeah, because the goal
on Yuna.
Yes. Yeah, the goal essentially here is we need to build sphere levels.
Oh, I didn't kill it. I'm an idiot. Sorry about that. Anyway.
No worries, it happens. But basically what we have to do here is we need to, like it was said, we want to hopefully get a Fungar encounter. And what we sometimes do is we give ourselves up to the first 3 battles to get a Fungar. And so with the Fungar encounter, that gives us the most AP. And sorry, I think I may have gotten really loud. I apologize. Oh, sorry.
You're good. Okay. Yeah, just to pick up kind of where you left off. I'm on the 3rd encounter. I haven't seen a Fungar yet, but this is a good encounter to go ahead and do this. To start the farming process, so we're going to bring Arby's in here, and we're actually going to use the other ability called Energy Ray to guarantee an overkill on each of these enemies.
And it's a faster attack animation.
Yep. But yeah. I need XP on Yuna, Waka, and Kamari at this point.
Yeah, and so this is where we need certain sphere levels. So ideally, Kamari needs about 6 sphere levels. If you don't do a Fungar, he may not have the 6 sphere levels. And then Waka needs about needs about 8, because you only use about 7, and then Yuna needs about 8 levels herself. But here is where we're starting to build up our characters in a way to get certain strats to work the way they're supposed to. And so one thing we're doing is we're putting HP on Kamari because self-destruct's damage is reliant on HP value. So we want to get Kamari to it's like 1,244. I want to say. I can't remember the final amount there, but basically we're going to get 3 HP spheres, and with those 3 HP spheres, that will give us the right amount of HP we need to get the right damage value with self-destruct, so Energy Blast can take out the upcoming boss battle. But that's the first thing we had to do. So we got that battle, we did our menu. Now we need our overdrive back. So now we're gonna ideally take the next usable encounter. So this is an ambush, so this wouldn't be like an ideal encounter to take because the turnover is all over the place as a result of it. Plus characters are dying and it's not, and then getting turned to stone, so that sometimes it just happens, you know.
Yep. This is the last really. This is the last part of the run where random encounters are actually scary, because after this we'll be pretty much in the clear. Boy, I'm getting really bad encounters so far, though.
Alright, we got a usable one here.
I could have... There's certain ones I feel a little bit more comfortable with than others. I may need to just kind of like go with it here if I don't get the one, or one of the ones that I'm looking for.
Yeah, each formation has like a specific pattern.
This one, so...
do you need me to walk you through it?
I believe this one is attack this guy.
With Kamari, yep.
Attack this one with Waka. Okay, we got the overkill, and then summon Yuna.
Yep, you pretty much got it.
Summon Valfor. And then it is Fire the Lamashtu, boost Blizzard.
You got it.
Cool. I normally do this with a Fungar, and it makes a lot more sense, but if I just remember that a Lamashtu is basically a Fungar, that will be good for my future running of this game. So yeah, so we're going to farm another overdrive here, and then I'm very likely going to be hopefully only 1 kill short on Yuna for the other rest of her sphere grid that I need to do. So... we just need to probably kill like 1 random raptor or something like that during the rest of my run through this area, so... But the hard part's done, I would say.
Yeah, the hard part's done. That's phase 2. That's get Val for its overdrive. So phase 3 is Yuna needs 3 sphere levels because she needs to do 1 more menu before she's ready to go for the next boss battle. Because one thing we haven't really touched on, we can kind of quickly mention it, that makes more sense later on, is Yuna's stats affect the strength of the Aeons. And so by gridding stuff to her, it's either her stats or the amount of encounters, whichever is higher. But that will affect how strong the Aeons are. And so that's why we're gridding what we grid on Yuna, because then it allows us to hit for the damage values that we need. And this becomes more apparent later on after we get Bahamut. So we can touch on that again back at that point.
Yep. So hopefully the 1 encounter I'm going to get on the screen is going to be something that I want. Otherwise, nope, this is like exactly the opposite of what I wanted, but it's probably fine.
Yeah, we don't take Garuda encounters in this case, so if a Garuda encounter, we just flee generally.
That is not the character I wanted. That's okay. Still swap. I always get thrown off when I start changing the names around, because it's like I'm just so used to seeing the name, and it's like, wait, where's Titus?
Yeah, I imagine
Who's
between
Titus?
Exactly. So I do have to wait. I have to farm another encounter here, so we might be here for just a second. JD, if you have anything to read, this would probably be a good time.
Well, we have a $10 donation from... apologies about the name, I'm going to say Tylerin. Thank you so much for your $10 donation with the comment, good luck to moonblazewolf. And you are doing awesome here, Blaze. Thanks for continuing on the push here.
Thank you, and thanks, Till. I appreciate it. Oh, I do need 1 more, unfortunately, still. So, okay. Keep them coming, I guess.
Indeed, keep them coming indeed. And actually, in addition to donations, I was going to make this mention earlier when we turned over the 1100 gil. We're excited to offer 3 brand new marathon shirts exclusive to Fall Fest 2022 with unisex and women's options, designed by artists in our Fastest Furs community. Use the command !merch in chat for a link to our merch store where you can check out those original designs from Arakun 14, Heki, and Flux. They're $20, and all proceeds from merch will go straight to Trans Lifeline. They're only available to the end of the event, so get them now.
Yep, sorry for the delay here. There's a couple different things I can kill, and I'm just not getting them at the moment, so... this should be fine.
And folks, while we're here too, if you're just tuning in, again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy time zone. We are doing our Fastest Furs Fall Festival, where we are raising money for Trans Lifeline. Trans Lifeline's hotline is a peer support service run by trans people for trans and questioning callers. Operators are located all over the US and Canada, are all trans identified. If you are in crisis or just need someone to talk to, please visit translifeline.org/hotline to learn how you can connect.
Okay, we did get another sphere level on Yuna, so we should be good now. We do have a pretty significant menu coming up. Wody talked about it a little earlier. We need to sell a bunch of items so that we can buy a sword for Orin called the Sentry, which will prevent back attacks basically for the rest of the run, so... Obviously pretty important since those are a danger point when you're as underleveled as we are. So we're going to go ahead and do that menu, and then I'm going to do one more sphere grid, and then we got a big boss fight to talk about too, so...
Yeah, because with... at this point, because, like, you know, we're not necessarily getting stronger currently, but the enemies are, so... So we have to kind of stop the you know, ambushes from happening, or where we'll probably won't make it very far. I've had a lot of game overs. And so with getting the Sentry, it allows us to basically stop that. So, I mean, enemies can still kind of outrun us, but at least it won't be an ambush. And we should, you know, because Titus's speed should be enough to, you know, only make a couple enemies be faster than him at this point. So we're going to do one more menu on Yuna, which will give her, and it looks like, I think you need one more speed sphere.
Oh, okay. We're just gonna double check something really quick. Sorry, I had a moment. Okay, I did do Kamari's other menu. I kind of did that very out of order than how I normally do it, which is always a danger with a run as technical as this, so...
All right, Sinspawn GUI. So again, scripted content. What we're going to see here is we're going to swap out Yuna for Orin. Orin is going to power break because we need to reduce the attack strength of GUI here because we don't want GUI to take down Valifor in an effort to build a second overdrive after we use it. So Titus is going to defend again. Here, Waka is actually going to, for turn order manipulation, switch his weapon, which will let him go again. And then we're going to bring in Kamari. And then Kamari is going to self-destruct. Did not get the crit Mari. It's fine. It's like a 1% chance. And then Titus will go afterwards, brings in Yuna. And then from there, we're going to Energy Blast. Because the idea is that we need to make it so Sinspawn GUI is going to attack us, I think it's like 3 times after we use Energy Blast. So it allows us to build, ideally, in some rare cases, you don't get enough overdrive ability. We're going to build overdrive through these next few attacks here, and then we can just blast Arby's, or not Arby's, we can blast GUIs again.
We can blast GUI with Arby's, perfect.
Yeah, blast, you know, just get that roast beef and cheddar, get some curly fries, some horsey sauce.
I'm totally going and getting Arby's after this run now. Yeah. You have only made us stronger, unfortunately, so we just do a second energy blast there. And then some big jerk has to help us with the second part of this fight, but that's okay.
Yeah. Who's this blue-haired, like, character guy that's in our party all of a sudden?
I don't know, he seems nice to me.
Yeah, he
definitely doesn't seem evil or anything.
He seems wonderful.
Yeah.
So
it's
thankfully,
also really powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Which thankfully, even though we have basically done nothing for our characters in terms of growth and development. Seymour is only in our party for this entire battle, and you know, he's as strong as he will need to be, and so we just use him for the battle to basically Thundara Gooey. It's like 5 times. Yeah. We do take out the head first though, because the head can use an ability called Venom, and then your characters just start dying from poison and stuff. So it's, I mean, you can salvage through it. It's not the end of the world. Like you can just, you know, Seymour has like every spell under the book, so you can waste time to heal it. But again, it's time waste. We don't want time waste. And correct. The other 2 just defend. Ideally, we also want to hope that Gooey attacks Orin as much as possible, going back to the overdrive build there. And yeah, battle's pretty much over, and we've gotten through Mushroom Rock Road at this point. One of the more dangerous sections, especially as if you're a newer runner, it's one of the hardest sections to really grasp at first.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you have to accomplish in a very short period of time, and sometimes the seed will just not give you the encounters that you want, even if you're tracking. And also it ties back to Kilika, where we were doing fights earlier, and if you don't get enough fights in Kilika, you'll also have to do extra fights, which is part of why that took me as long as it did, because I didn't have enough XP from Kilika. So
yeah, depending on the amount of encounters you do take in Kilika, like it was just mentioned, determines if like, and if you get like a Fungar, because a Fungar gives you the most SP for sphere levels. So if you honestly get a Fungar for both the energy ray and the overdrive build battle, there's a good chance you'll have 3, or you'll only need like 1 additional Raptor or Gondaware to get there. But in this case, didn't have a Fungar for any encounters that we used, and I think I forgot how many we killed, but I think we only had like 6 kills in Kilika.
Yeah, we kind of got the worst of both worlds the way this seed broke, unfortunately. So it is what it is. We powered through, but if you're on a good pace and then you just get a garbage Mushroom Rock Road, it can be a little bit disheartening. This encounter is important, so.
Yeah, so the big thing that we're doing here goes back to our talk of Kamari and his hidden use for this run in some of our battles to go as fast as possible. Is Basilisks here have the ability of Stone Breath. We're going to need Stone Breath for 3 battles. Well, not need, but it does make them faster, because it basically will instant kill a group of enemies that we use it on throughout the run.
Yep. But yeah, at this point, we are just running to the next temple, which is kind of up the road here. Just to give a quick story update, so what happened at the end of that boss battle we just did with Gooey was kind of like the last stand of Spira between some of the major factions trying to head off this really big threat to everybody. And it's also part of why we're doing what we're doing, is we're taking Yuna on her pilgrimage to see all the temples and get all the Aeons and all that. So this was sort of like we'll call it a contingency plan that the rest of the powers that be in Spira cooked up, and it did not go well, unfortunately.
No, it did not.
So we're here at the Josei Temple now. This is personally my favorite temple of the run, but this is also when we need to cut off the Ixion naming incentive, JD. So if you could get that closed, and then I'll let you know when we're ready for the name.
There we go. All right, I'm closing these up. Remember, folks, those closings are going to happen in a snap. So if you want in on being able to name a character, we've got 1 more naming bid war that's left after I close this one.
Yep. And then if you have anything to read, I would say you've probably got a good minute or 2 minutes here while I'm doing the puzzles and zapping the spheres and all the fun stuff that happens in the Josei Temple. So
all the fun stuff. Well, we have a $20 donation from Ferric Fox that... Oh, I thought I dodged a bullet, but here it is. We love seeing this Final Fantasy X run on the fastest first stage. Keep up the great work and enjoy the powered up Bahamut, who is now Bahamut. Name Bidwar Bahamut to Bahamut. I don't think we'll have enough characters for that one, unfortunately.
I was going to say, I'm not even sure that works, but you know what? The thought is still very much appreciated, as are the donations, so.
Indeed, indeed. And while you're working on these puzzles right now, too, the cue that Blaze was giving me earlier, if you enjoy puzzles and enjoy watching puzzles or playing puzzles like this, another one of Fastest Furs Fall Fest 2022 sponsors is indeed Furry Logic Escape Rooms. Furry Logic is a proud provider of on-site escape room experiences at furry and other fandom conventions around the country. Their puzzle-filled sets bring people together to enjoy whimsically themed games in an in-person environment. They also have transformed physical games into digital point-and-click team-building activities through their online team-building brand, Think Quick Events. You could donate at least $5 during the marathon to be entered for a chance to win one of 4 LED name badges, or donate $20 to win an online escape room session for you and up to 10 friends. Follow them online at Furry Logic LLC on Twitter for more information.
Heck yeah. So we're almost done with part 1 of the temple here. This is probably the one where the puzzles get a little bit more elaborate, because up until this point, the game has told you about these like reset tiles that exist in the temples, but you've never had to actually functionally use them to solve a puzzle, and in this one you absolutely have to use the reset tile to bring back that pedestal that I just pushed into the other room, otherwise you can't progress. So I know when I was playing this game casually, this one definitely took me a hot minute.
Yeah, this is definitely where like the temple starts to be a lot more elaborate, and like you're moving orbs a lot more frequently around to form things. Whereas like the first 2 temples, like you just kind of ran from point A to point B and maybe picked up a sphere or 2 here and there.
I accidentally ran to point B and I meant to run to point A again, so oh well. We're having fun. We're talking about this game and having a good marathon time, so brain farts are going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a minor one in the grand scheme of things. So that one I can live with.
Yeah, just gotta have, we're just having fun. That's all. We're just showcasing a wonderful speed run.
That's right. And I will just say too, for me personally, I think this Final Fantasy, I like a lot of different Final Fantasy games for a lot of different reasons. I feel like this is the one that just personally resonates with me so much more, because I was a kid like playing sports growing up, and I'll just say it, having like daddy issues and stuff like that. So there's a lot of this game that really speaks to me and resonates with me. So I enjoy the fact that I get to play it a lot more now, because the speedrun is so awesome and accessible, and it's really good for the kind of RPG speedruns that I like to do. So, and I'm sorry, what is the actual name? We are there now. Sorry, I should have cued you a little more, JD.
No worries, no worries. So, eking out by just $1, Bubsy won, capital B, lowercase UBSY.
Nice, I like it. Whoops.
Yeah.
Bubsy is a good friend.
Here I was secretly hoping for Thundercorn, but I think that's too long.
Maybe by 1 or 2 characters, yeah.
Maybe a creative spelling, but yeah. So a little bit of housekeeping here. I need to run in here and open this chest because it's got a remedy in it, and I need that potentially, hopefully not, for a boss fight that's coming up very soon. And then we have to pick up this money over here because there's one more big item that we have to buy, and 4,000 gil is going to go a long way to getting me there. So
yeah, if I had this chest, it would make things either very tight, or you'd have to sell. You'd have to sell a lot more stuff, and depending on your weapon drops, the value of those items could be very hit or miss.
Yep. And we're just going to be running pretty much for the next couple screens here, so I'm trying to think if there's anything good to talk about at this point.
Yeah, this is the part of the run where there's just a lot of we're basically just on our way for story progression needs, so there's not an excessive amount of like technical stuff that's happening here. It's really just we're gonna flee every battle. We shouldn't. The only thing that will outspeed us really at this point is going to be wolves, who do have a chance to put you to sleep. So if they attack Titus, and he might get put to sleep and stuff, but the enemies here aren't aggressively dangerous to where the damage output is going to affect us too much from fleeing with another character.
Yeah, I shouldn't wipe anymore, basically, for the rest of the run. So, because there's no more ambushes, and I'll occasionally take one attack, but the sequence of events that would need to happen for me to be in danger of a wipe is pretty low odds. I say in a marathon, you know, where these things, where that's never happened before, tend to happen all the time, but yeah.
Well, luckily enough, Blaze, you are not one of those wolves that will be putting anyone to sleep. This has been absolutely amazing gameplay so far.
Oh, thank you. And Wody is really doing a great job helping out with the commentary too, and I super appreciate that. So,
you know, I'm always glad to help. As a slightly newer runner compared to maybe some of our members of the community, I have fallen very much in love with this run. It's become one of my favorite runs to do in the maybe 6 months at this point. I maybe 5 months. I can't remember how long it's been since I started doing this run, and I love it to death and enjoy a lot about it.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're a very good speedrunner, and you're a really good member of the community. I know you have a run coming up at AGDQ that I'm sure you're super proud of and excited for, so I called you out, sorry.
I've been outed.
Indeed, the big stage.
If you want to talk about it. If not, that's fine.
I mean, if it's out there, I can mention it. I you know, always never know how you want to talk about how other marathon talk and marathons are. But yes, I have been graciously invited to run one of my speed runs of Onimusha 2 at AGDQ this January.
Ooh.
Very, very excited. Very, very unexpected. Did it on a whim. So I'm very happy to showcase another run that I very much love and is near and dear to my heart.
Well, very good. I'm glad we got to just kind of slide that in there before this next boss fight, which is kind of interesting. So, also, this is one of the most... there's a couple boss fights in this speedrun that the cutscene remover kind of messes with the music a little bit, so apologies in advance for that. But yeah, we got the extractor fight here. Yuna just can't not get kidnapped.
Nope. But the extractor fight is it's an interesting battle mechanically for us to get through, considering how under level we are. So the big thing right now is we're going to do some kind of like preemptive building of not only like our attack stats so we can deal more damage. So what's going to happen here is, well, we got a lightning steel, so it's a little different strat. So the goal currently is to first haste both characters. So Waka's just going to purely attack every turn he has, but Titus has got to do some setup. So first he's going to haste himself, then haste Waka. And then depending on if you got a lightning steel or not, you're going to do cheers to just boost your attack strength. And so we got a lightning steel. So thankfully we only need to cheer one time versus cheering 4 times if you don't get it. The biggest reason for that is what's going to happen in a moment here is you're going to see the extractor is actually on this turn going to raise up into the sky, and that's very dangerous because depth charges does a lot of damage, and I believe it also causes blind. Like, I believe it also does make your character blind, which means their attacks won't land. And to make extractor come down, we need to deal 500 damage before its next turn. And so with lightning steel or cheering 4 times, that will allow us to do, because Waka only does about 200 damage per hit, but with lightning steel we do about like 385, so it puts us over the 500 threshold. And we got a crit there, which is great because that's actually going to allow us to possibly take one less turn to kill extractor here. And so we're going to use Waka's elemental reels. And ideally, we want to get 2 lightning or yellow icons so we can do thunder rails, which will do the most damage. And as you can see here, it caused an overkill thanks to that crit we did. And yeah, it gets us out of the battle a little bit sooner, because the goal is to not let extractor raise up again, because on its 4th turn, it's going to raise into the sky again, possibly. And if it does, it actually has to lower down again before the battle ends. So you lose like 20 seconds having to sit there and watch it.
It's so obnoxious. So glad we avoided that. That was a pretty good fight. And we got Riku back now, so that's cool. We like Riku. Riku also has a lot of history with this speedrun. And I did not run it in the old route, but I know that Riku was very, very heavily featured in the previous route of this run, and still has quite a bit of utility in this version as well. Mainly due to this mix overdrive, which is just allows for some pretty ridiculous and unique effects depending on which items you use. So
yeah, in reference, so I also didn't run the older route, but I'm sort of familiar with it, and it's actually a route that's used in another category, the no sphere grid category, #with Flea. And
yes.
It's called the Trio of Nines. Basically, we do some stuff towards the end of the run. We get some items that allow Riku to guarantee every hit from each character is 9,999 damage. And so at some point in time, runners found that there was a faster strat involving Bahamut, which we'll get into when we get to that point of why that's the case, is actually quicker than going for the Trio of 9 nines, because there's a lot less battle like manipulation and stuff you have to do to fight the battles, and it saves a lot more time.
Plus, it's just much more fun to punch things with a large angry dragon, in my opinion.
I'm all about the Baja Blast.
Yes.
I guess it's more of a Baja Punch, but you know, it kind of fits still.
All right, so we are now arriving in Guadosalam. This is a pretty important story point in the game, where this is basically Seymour's hometown. He asks Yuna to marry him. Weirdly enough, she says yes, but there's reasons for that that probably are a little more spoiler territory than we need to talk about. But yeah, there's going to be a wedding, and we need to go visit the Far Plane, which is where dead people go. Usually. More on that too, probably at some point story-wise, but spoilers, so. Anyway, I'm just triggering a bunch of cutscenes here that are getting skipped, and now we are done with this part of the sequence. Now we're going to go to the Far Plane. Yeah, this
Guadosalami here is, we sometimes like to jokingly say.
Oh shoot, I forgot to go to actually talk to the party first. My bad.
Basically there's just a lot of story triggers here, and just a lot of like, this is another part of the run where there's just a lot of dialogue happening. You're running and talking and just moving things along. We visit the Far Plane, you know, we kind of get to see Chapu. This is also where our weapon, so we don't really do a lot of weapons in the run. We get the Brotherhood is used for most of it, but it actually gets an upgrade at this part of the run after visiting here, so it gets like +5. It gets like +5% strength. It adds like water strike. So this is where it gets a boost in power, which is going to be useful for a bunch of battles, because this is the part of the run where we use a mix of Titus and Riku to get through a lot of our boss battles, or a lot of our fights, until after we get Bahamut. So they're going to kind of carry us for the next several bosses.
If you're also watching the true any percent run of this game, this is where the biggest skip in the run is. It's called the Guadosalam skip, and it probably saves, if you get it right the first time, like I want to say like 3 or 4 minutes. It's pretty big, because you skip not only a couple of these cutscenes that the cutscene remover is skipping, but it also skips a tutorial when you first go into the Thunder Plains here. So it's a really, really big skip.
Yeah, because the game, all about tutorials, which is handy. You know, sometimes those are good to know what you're doing. It teaches you about thunder dodging, which if you've played Final Fantasy X casually, you're very familiar with the concept of thunder dodging, because that's how you get Lulu's ultimate weapon, essentially.
That was going to happen at least once. I'll donate $10 every time I get struck by lightning. How about that?
Yeah,
there's too much going on. Yeah, I was like, I just got out of a menu. I'm like, okay, I gotta get my line right again, and I was not prepared for the thunder.
And the RNG's all messed up because of the crash earlier too. So.
Yes, I had it perfectly. I had the lightning RNG perfectly manipulated before.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, when you're tracking RNG, sometimes like you get caught up looking at your tracker at the end of a battle, and then the lightning strikes as the battle ends, so it throws you off if you're not paying attention. It's great.
Yeah, this is a particularly intense time for the RNG tracking, because there's some important steals coming up. And yeah, like if you're running through here and trying to track, you're gonna get zapped by lightning 9 times out of 10. So
yeah, with the Thunder Plains, so it's broken up into 2 halves. So the front half we're just going to be running and fleeing, as you're kind of seeing. So there's nothing really special going on here. After we get to the screen transition, for story purposes, Riku, who is deathly afraid of thunder, really wants to take a break and maybe spend the night. So we have to offshoot into the shop there, the Al Bhed shop. Which is fine because there's some things we're going to be doing there. We're going to, depending on if you won Blitzball or not, we'll need to, we're going to sell a longsword and katana, but that's just for item placement manipulation to allow for quicker item swapping later. But then we're also going to be buying a shimmering blade, which we're going to customize later for Orin. We'll be buying some additional Phoenix Downs because we don't really get Phoenix Downs as drops right now. We're going to need some for one of the upcoming battles, as well as we use it for a few other things throughout the run. And we're also going to get 3 grenades because we're going to need those for...
Whoops, I always do that.
Happens to me too. So we're also going to need grenades because we use the grenades for some of Riku's important roles towards the back end of the run as well.
By 1 extra just in case.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, because honestly, at this point, there's only one major shop left, and that's the next shop to get Sonic Steel. We're also going to pick up the yellow shield on the way out here. It's very important for the Seymour battle, unless you're tracking like RNG in your actions and determine that maybe you don't want to wait for Seymour to use multi Thundara, and you're gonna get Riku Overdrive somewhere else. But now we've entered part 2 of the Thunder Plains, the back half. What we're looking for here, ideally, not required, but it's helpful, is an Iron Giant encounter, a solo Iron Giant encounter to be more specific. The reason for that is we want to steal a light curtain because a light curtain will cast Protect, which we'll use in a Wendigo battle. And we want to build Riku's Overdrive. And the way our buddy the Iron Giant works is he will only attack, his AI is scripted to only attack the lowest HP person in the battle. And I learned that the hard way when I decided not to heal Titus just for time's sake, and he actually had less HP than Riku, and I'm sitting here like waiting for him to attack Riku, and then clubs out Titus there, and I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Gotta learn the fine points of this game one way or another, and unfortunately that's usually how that happens.
Yeah, and if you've been running the game, because I said earlier, like, it's not required, but it's nice. If you've been running the game for a bit, you kind of learn there are some not optimized, but there are alternative strats that you can take without having to maybe waste time with farming and hoping for a specific encounter to appear. Because technically, if we don't get an Iron Giant by the time we leave the screen, we can just do a different strat. We can use Orin to power break Wendigo instead. So it's not, it's not something where we should have to worry about farming for an encounter.
Last chance. Okay, perfect. I actually got the one I wanted.
Always love it when it's the final encounter, right?
Yep. Because this particular formation, I can also farm some extra speed spheres, so that's nice.
Yeah, you can definitely use this encounter for sure if it comes down to it. Just kind of depends on runner preference to a degree. Normally with this encounter, we only usually take out the viewers and then flee, but it's our last encounter on the Thunder Plains, so Moonblaze is opting to get Riku a little bit more overdrive to make the next sequence of attacks go a little bit smoother.
Yeah, I actually didn't steal the light curtain. That was kind of dumb of me. Oh well.
Fine.
I have to remember that I don't have one now, and I'm not used to that strat, but it'll be fine probably.
I got you. It's easy. Yeah. All you do is power break. That's the only difference.
I got this. Yeah.
Huh? What?
I do it all the time. Weirdly enough, it happens more times than I realize. Now we've entered Macalania Woods, another kind of wishy-washy section, because here the enemies do heavily outspeed you pretty frequently, actually. So depending on how often we get attacked and who gets attacked, it's just going to really vary on how much time is wasted per battle. Because the goal here also is to hope for an ice elemental, which I see here in this encounter, and a chimera. The reason being is the next boss battle is Spiromorph. And the reason why we're trying to gather a couple items like Arctic Winds and the fish scales, and we already have bomb cores and thunder and lightning marbles, is to kill Spiromorph, we're going to need to use its weakness element, but it's random. It's not a guaranteed element, and we're trying to ensure that no matter what element it is, we will have the necessary items to defeat it. Now you can run the gauntlet of randomness if you don't get it, because sometimes you just don't get an elemental or you don't get a chimera, and you either have to opt to farm encounters, which you won't know how long that's going to take, or you go the backup strat route and either hope it doesn't use an element you don't have, or bring in Lulu to kind of change the element because she has access to all 4 basic spells.
Yep, so we'll see if we get a chimera. I have 2 of my 3 objectives down. I have Riku's Overdrive and I got Fish Scales already, so...
Nice, yeah, so now we just needed a chimera.
I didn't mean to do that. That's fine. If I was RNG tracking, that would have actually been super annoying, but since I'm not, I don't care as much. Because you have to track steals, and I accidentally stole there, so... Darn Riku being fast.
Yeah, actually, Riku will outspeed Titus in every battle on this. Yep. So it does cost a little bit more time to have to defend while you're waiting for the encounters you need. If you're RNG tracking, then you should know when you'll get a chimera, when you'll get an ice elemental, and then you can kind of adjust based on that. Luckily, though, I see we do have Overdrive on Riku and Auron, so we are set for now in terms of stuff we need. Fun fact, though, because we also can't see our tracking, the chimera has a rare steal of a lightning marble.
Please no. I'm good on lightning marbles.
Yeah, no, that is honestly what you don't want to see, and I've had that happen a number of times. I had it happen 3 runs in a row. It was pretty ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why does this keep happening to me?
I'll be right
Do I have time to fit in a couple of donations?
Yeah, I think you got it. I think you got time for one.
One donation, then we'll go with Jackos donating $250, saying gotta donate during Final Fantasy X. And with that, we have broken $6,000 with that donation earlier. More to come on more, but thank you so much, Chad, for all of the hype.
Thank you so much. That is amazing that we're already at 6K in the early hours of the morning for a lot of us on Saturday. So do you want to explain that weapon that I just bought? Because it's super important. Oh, I need to change parties too, but go ahead.
Yes. So we got the Sonic Steel, which is super important because it has first strike on it naturally. So going back to the whole being outsped and everything, is that it's important to have Sonic Steel because this way it guarantees that Titus will take his turn first every time, but it also allows us for certain bosses to manipulate turn order, because when Titus swaps characters, it allows him to impose his 2 turns in a row he would normally get with that Sonic Steel onto that character, which is what allows us to get through some battles without the enemy taking a turn. And so here is the Spiromorph battle, and so we got Ice, which means that we're going to be using the Bomb Core, which is great, which means it's not the slowest attack animation, which is Blizzard. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with Blizzard. But yeah, what we do here is we aim to get Yuna. We basically aim to get, I think it's Yuna, Kamari, Titus, and Riku all need AP from this battle for the next upcoming 2 menus. So they have to all be alive and gain AP, which is why we wait a couple turns with defending, so that way Kamari and Yuna can get AP, AP, since you do not gain AP if you're dead or do not take an action. And so we throw a grenade, we get an element, and then we use that weakness element with the mix ability, which does those like multiple hit attacks you saw there, because it will instantly take out Spheromorph with the like 12,000 HP that it has. And so, you know, great battle there. We made it through. And so now we're going to do a slightly longer menu to gear up for the next couple things. So this is where we're starting to go back to pumping Yuna full of spheres and stats. Because like I was saying before, the Aeon strengths are reliant on Yuna's personal stats. So we are going to pump her full of strength. So the next time we menu Yuna, we're actually going to be teleporting her to someone else's sphere grid. We'll talk about that more later when it happens.
Yuna is getting swole at the moment.
Yuna is going to be getting swole eventually. But we also need to do a few other things. So the only time we menu Riku, she needs just a little bit more agility for this next battle, or it doesn't work. I found out the hard way by forgetting this menu one time. So that 3 agility that she gets is going to make sure that this next battle is as scripted as it humanly possibly can. But we also need Kamari to help out here. And so Kamari decides to go into Riku's grid and get the use and steal abilities, which are going to be important because we need him to be able to use items, especially for this next battle, as well as a few other battles. And we are going to need him to be able to help steal, especially for his personal battle, which we'll talk about later. And then from there, we move on to the crawler.
Yep, this is another really scripted fight, and I think after this we should have a nice chunk for donations, but this is another kind of pretty important fight, so we'll kind of talk through this one. This is a little bit of like the boss gauntlet part of the run in terms of like the execution heavy bosses. There's a lot of bosses later on in the run where you basically just summon Bahamut and don't have to do much else, but these are very, very technical. So now we got the crawler.
Yeah, and I'll be happy to talk about this so I can let Moon there focus, because this is very important we do this properly or it's gonna be a little wonky. So the first thing we do is we bring in Titus, or we have Titus swap out for Riku, and she throws a lightning marble at the negator. We need to take down the negator, because if the negator's up, the crawler is going to use Gatling gun, and if it's down, it's going to just stand there motionless and just do mana beam until turn 3. But what it will do is it will counterattack. So we take out the negator, which has a chance to die in 1 lightning marble depending on the damage roll. This time it took 2. So then we throw a lightning marble at the crawler. It will counterattack with assault, which will instantly kill Riku, but thankfully with the HP on Kamari, it will not kill him. So that 1 extra attack helps us make sure that the HP is low enough for the mix that we're going to do later. But the goal here is we need to get Riku back her overdrive. So we have her throw 2 lightning marbles, which will give her enough overdrive. So on her 3rd turn, she can use Mix Lightning Storm to take down the crawler. Lulu's basically here to just throw Phoenix Downs the entire time, and then we need to get Yuna and Titus. Yuna, Titus, and Lulu all need AP from this, because Lulu does need to get 35 sphere levels by a certain point in the run, or it's going to affect our sphere grid. And so we basically have Kamari do his thing, pull out for Yuna, she just defends, then we pull out for Titus and he just defends, and then on that turn, as you see here, we just throw a lightning bolt and the crawler's down. So that's about as it's the same battle every time. There's no variation. Which is
why it's great for getting sphere grid levels for Lulu as well, because Lulu can safely sit there and not get sniped or anything like that, and just kind of do be a Phoenix down machine. So all right, we are running to the Makalania Temple. I have to do a menu, and then there will be another boss battle. But while I'm doing that menu, which is pretty long, I think, JD, you've got a good solid minute or so for donations and announcements.
Awesome. So for those of you keeping track on stream, yeah, we passed by $6,000 a while ago, and we are coming close to that nice number coming up. Thanks to Talserace donating that $500 matching donation, saying, dang, not even 2 hours into the run, and we've hit the $500 cap. Trans rights are human rights. I love you all. Many hearts. Let's keep this momentum going. Let's go.
I agree, let's go. There's a lot of marathon left, and so many good runs and incentives to donate for, so Let's keep it up, everybody.
Yeah, keep it up. Yeah, so this is where we are basically pumping Titus himself full stats, because he's going to be important for the next couple battles to be the main DPS. Because Yuna doesn't have Bahamut yet, so she can't do too much force. And this is where the Blitz win starts to make itself apparent. So we use that Strength Sphere on the empty node to get extra force strength, which is going to help immensely with the upcoming battle, as well as the battle after that, as well as a few other battles that Titus will be a part of. Actually, probably the next like 5, I want to say. And then, of course, get in some HP, get him some agility, and all that to help.
This is our first of several battles with Seymour, and this one's fairly involved. There's a lot going on here, so I'm going to focus and let Wody kind of narrate what's happening.
You got it. So the one good thing is that the combination of teammates is forced, actually. So we don't actually have to worry about changing the party ahead of time. There's also a skip that any percent can do here called the Jiskel skip right before this. Which we don't have to do without the cutscenes, thankfully. But what we do first is we're going to swap to Brotherhood, and then we're going to haste ourselves. And then Seymour is going to use Blizzara here. And so the Seymour has a specific turn order, so this should be the only time Seymour attacks, because his next attack is Thunder, and we need that to help get Riku Overdrive with the strat that we're using here. But we also need to boost our attack strength, so we talk to Seymour, which will just increase Titus's attack as long as he doesn't die. Yuna just kind of swaps her weapon just to manipulate turn order, and then once she gets her next turn, we bring in Orin. And then defend with Kamari, and then Titus's next turn we'll use Spiral Cut, because Spiral Cut will allow you to attack Seymour. If you try to just basic attack Seymour, the Guados will jump in the way and will take the hit instead, and that really throws off the turn order.
There's also a really important thing that didn't happen there, which is Shremedy, thankfully.
That too. So what can happen is, depending on turn order and such, the Guados may be able to use Shremedy, which will possibly cast like Confusion, and that's why the remedy is picked up to help cure that. Now you also have the ability to do a different strat where you Stone Breath with Kamari, which completely avoids that as well. So there's a few strats that you can do in that battle depending on how the rest of the run has gone. But now Anima has appeared. So we got to get through Anima. Anima's a little strong here, so Anima does Pain, which will randomly cast Death. There is a chance it misses. I actually had it happen one time, which just threw me off. I was like, wait, that's a thing? I had no idea that was a thing. But we have to take Titus out. As you saw, we took Titus out because we don't want him to get hit by Pain, because the target is randomized. So we pull him out, and bring Walk in, change weapons to reduce the turn speed, and then we wait for the first Pain to happen, and then from there we bring Titus back in. It should take about 4 attacks. Yep. Hey, 6 silence grenades. So it takes about 4 attacks to kill Anima with our current strength the way it is, and then we also attempt the steal with Kamari and Riku for silence grenades. We technically only need 3 silence grenades, but 6 isn't bad. It does help make things a lot more straightforward with any grenade needs, because we'll have those extra grenades for stuff. And then here we wait until Seymour does his multi-Thundara, because he's going to attack 2 targets, and with Yellow Shield, we'll absorb the hit, and then Riku will instantly gain her Overdrive back. Because we're going to need her Overdrive on the, it's like 3 bosses from now, when we get to Evray a bit down the road from here. And that's a pretty textbook Seymour fight. Now we get to actually do the Makalenia Temple. So normally you do that first, but it was already completed on our way in. But on the way out, it's now making us actually do the temple, even though we've got Shiva.
Yep. It's actually a pretty short temple, but it's still just kind of puzzle doing. So JD, if you got anything else to catch us up on, this would be a great time.
Sure thing. So we have ourselves a $47 donation from Aaron saying, just to push us over the edge. And I have to double check where things are at, because I think that may mean that a bid war or something got met somewhere. I'm not sure. I'm trying to dramatically search.
Yes.
But for what it's worth, the Bahamut bid war is still open. Chickens is still in the lead, but is definitely still toppable.
Okay. Sounds like a good update there. Yeah, we got another bonus game I know that's coming up later tonight, maybe. So maybe we'll get to see Shlasta. Maybe we'll get to see Shasta running some Klonoa 1 for everybody. I know I'm really looking forward to that. So
that actually is it. We have met that bonus game with that $1,000 goal.
Very good, very good. Good job, everybody. Keep it up. We want all of our incentives met. We want maximum marathon for you and for our runners. So good job. All right, and this is actually the last sphere. Fun fact, there is a reset tile at the top of this really winding path that is actually very easy to step on. It just got revealed right there. I've stepped on this on a run while I'm in PB pace, and it actually like messes the puzzle up to the point that I wasn't 100% sure how to like solve it again. So yeah, I lost that PB, so careful with that one. And now we've got the fun escape sequence coming up here. I have a little menu to do, but that'll just take a second. And then we get to flee from some Guado, and that's actually very technical. So I'm going to probably have to focus on that when it's happening.
Hopefully we didn't have an awkward moment where you asked me a question and I decided to get coffee quickly and I wasn't there for the response.
No, I think you're good. We're coming up on... Whoops, I need to do one more thing. We're coming up on the escape sequence here, so... It's definitely coffee hours, so...
Yes.
Yeah, do you want to talk about this escape sequence and why it's so important?
Yeah, well, it's important for a couple of reasons.
Specifically for cutscene remover.
Specifically for cutscene remover. So the escape sequence, ideally, obviously, encounters is time loss. But if you are on like a blitz loss route, you actually have to take the encounter because you do need the AP from the battle to get your last sphere node to be able to fight Wendigo here. But for cutscene remover, it's extra important that you do your best to like skip this battle. We have found, we don't know why, we still don't know why, we've attempted to continue to improve this, but if you get the Guado encounter, and if you, from what we've seen, like I don't have any statistical math on this, but we have found that if you get the Guado encounter, it not only increases the chance that the game crashes when you get the encounter or leave the little like hybrid scene there, just straight up crash. Now luckily you can load the autosave and just continue from there, but it also seems that if you get the Guado encounter and it's the Guado encounter that is the two floating eyes encounter, it even doubles the chances or something. I don't know, it's crashed on me like 3 times now, but yeah, it's just one weird after effect of the CSR that, you know, the community is still, you know, in the background, you know, possibly looking at or trying to figure out, like, you know, in the next update, what could, you know, fix that issue.
I will say for me, it made me a better speedrunner, so.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't get caught. If you don't get caught, you're fine. So now we have the Wendigo battle. So with the Wendigo battle, this battle can be a little, you know, a little tricky if RNG doesn't play in your favor. So first we had to haste Titus, swap his weapon, and then we only kill the top Guado, because when the top Guado dies, or Guado B, it casts Shell, which is fine. We don't do any magic. We don't want to kill Guado A, because Guado A will cast Protect, which is going to make this a bit more dangerous. And then from there, Titus's goal is to really just attack the Wendigo the entire time, and normally, depending on if you have a light curtain or not, you'll either have Riku throw the light curtain on Titus, which will give him Protect, because ideally Titus needs to be at full HP all the time.
Just realized I screwed something up there, and hopefully I'm not going to pay for it. Nope. Okay, good job, Oren.
Because what happens there is, as you see, Wendigo does about 1356 with Power Break. So we did the Power Break strat where we reduce his attack power versus the Protect strat with Light Curtain. And so the goal really here is anytime a character dies, we're going to Phoenix down them with one of the other 2 characters, and then keep Titus at full HP as much as possible. Now, Yuna and Titus are the only 2 who need the AP from this battle. You can get it with Lulu if the turn order allows you to, but it's not required. You can always get it later, of course. But yeah, the goal there is really just to take out Wendigo, and, you know, hope Titus doesn't die at any point, or it makes the battle more dangerous.
got through it. That was a few more deaths than I typically like to take, but, you know, Orin did a good job, and I was a little worried about that fight not having the light curtain, so it honestly went just fine.
Yeah, once you do the power break strat, you realize it's not that different from the light curtain.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
The biggest dangerous part there, and you almost had it happen, is where the Guado and the Wendigo have a turn after each other, and they both go for Titus, because you did get Blizzard, and then the Wendigo thankfully didn't attack Titus.
Yeah, Titus would have died there, and that would have turned into like, it might have been fine, but it also might not have been fine. So thankfully I didn't have to flail. But yeah, now we went from the freezer to the desert, and yeah, some interesting stuff happening here as well.
Yeah, and the first battle is scripted with the zoo. It happens. You have to kind of once Titus is in critical HP, Orange shows up, and then you have to kind of stall a little bit longer until Lulu shows up, and then you can actually flee from there. And then from there, we're basically just finding the members of our lost group, with the exception of Yuna, who we won't find at this time. She's all the way back. She's all the way in the area called home. I can't remember for story reasons why she ended up there. I think she was kidnapped, or
wouldn't you know it? She got kidnapped again.
I was gonna say it was kidnapped, right? I was gonna say I think she was kidnapped. I was trying to remember.
Yeah. It's like flip a coin. What happened to Yuna? She got kidnapped.
Pretty much. And here we are in Beaconell, and so Beaconell is important for a couple things as we run through here. So for now, we're just running through and escaping battles, but Riku's going to join us here in a moment, and then we'll have a force tutorial, another force tutorial where the game teaches us that if Riku performs a steal on the Machina robots there, you actually will instantly kill them because she basically dismantles them using steel. So it's another kind of forced tutorial to kind of learn about it, but the game doesn't make us do it. We can just flee from it. But what we're looking to do predominantly from here, depending on what strat you're familiar with or know, is we need to find a wolf, and we need to steal sleeping powders from it. So you do need a combination of around 5 to 7 throwable items for an upcoming battle after every here to like successfully get through it. And so depending on what you've acquired from Anima. So if you've gotten silence grenades, it does help because you've got bomb cores, which I think, if I remember correctly, we used one of, so we only have one bomb core, and we got 6 silence grenades. So realistically, we actually have enough items. But if you're not familiar with the no sleeping powder strat, then what you want to look for is a wolf here to steal and there's a wolf, for instance, so we're going to want to steal a sleeping powder from it, which is going to make the Beville Guards battle, which we'll talk about later, a bit safer for 2 of the encounters.
Miss me? Live and let live.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the sleeping powder strat, but having the 6 silence grenades means that I don't have to steal anything else, so I should be good now.
Well, one important factor that is not common, but it can happen depending on if you're still learning, if you make an input error, if you make a turn order error, whatever potential error you might make, is with the nature of the CSR, if you actually die, and so we'll probably be making a safety save here before Evray, just on the off chance something weird happens. If you actually die on the Beville Guard battle, your save file is actually completely destroyed. You have no way to actually load your save file with CSR and continue on if you die in any of those 5 encounters.
Definitely do not want that to happen.
Yeah, ideally you wouldn't. Most of the time the risk of dying in any percent is a bit lower than NSG or no sphere grid, because in no sphere grid you have to change your party formation after every encounter. I found that out the hard way and had a 30-minute time loss, but you know that's another thing. But we'll be fine. We got this. Yep. Moon knows what he's doing. Plus, we'll make the safety save before every, just in case.
Yep. This next screen coming up is one of my new favorite screens, and I'm really hoping I get to do cool speedrunner stuff on this screen. So we've got 2 Sandragora battles, and do you want to talk about the? Well, hopefully we only have one. That's actually kind of the idea. So
yeah, you got this. Get that skip. You got it.
I'll try it a couple times. If I don't get it the first time, I'll try it again. So
yeah, you got this. Yeah, so what's coming up here we got our sleeping power, so now we're just trying to get out of here. We do need these teleport spheres, so we do have to take this encounter, but what we're going to do is we're going to use I believe we're going to do Orin's move here. So Orin is going to use Shooting Star, which as long as we get the inputs here, it is going to instantly kill this enemy because it actually just throws them off the screen. So batter up, Orin batting 1,000 there, just tossing that giant plant thing out of the dune into the sky. Home run! So we need those teleport sphere. Yeah, very, very impressive stuff. Now up here is actually the newest skip. The skip's not even a year old. It was literally found around the time I started learning this run, or like shortly after I started learning this run. This is the Sandragora skip. Member of the community, I believe it was Sereth who found it. Found that if you run into the pit and you just stop kind of just short of the encounter, you learn it as you do it. Riku will actually
I'll try one more time.
Push you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Riku will actually push you past the Sandragora, and you don't even have to actually fight it.
Got it.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can kind of see there. You just kind of stand. The temptation to run is high, but you gotta clear it, and then boom, first try, we got the Sandragora skip.
Oh yeah. Hey, it's a marathon. I got to show off the one cool thing that I can do. So.
Yeah, it's
no,
still
that's a fun skip.
It is. It's a fun skip, and it's the one skip that actually still remains in CSR, because all the other skips are for cutscene triggers and cutscene moments. So those skips are for that stuff. And here we have the bomb encounter. So the goal here is to get, we want to get overkills on these bombs ideally, because it's going to give us 6 guaranteed power spheres. There are strats that don't need it, or there are ways to do it, but again, those are like, your time is like sub 310, you're optimizing, or you've got a stone grenade, or you've mapped it out ahead of time. But ideally, we're just going to have Titus melee attack each bomb, which will overkill every one of them, though he is getting crits in there. Very, very impressive. What was that, like 3 crits?
Yeah, quit showing off, Titus.
And now the stuff I talked about earlier about why Kimahri is pretty handy in this run is about to become very apparent. So these next 2 encounters now, you can get through these encounters with brute force if you didn't get stone breath, but it's much faster to just bring in Kimahri, cast stone breath, and then bam, instant kill. And what you can do, because some runners if you don't do Sandragora skip, you actually use that stone breath on the other Sandragora, is you can actually lance it the dual horn, which will teach you, I think it's I think you get flame breath or fire breath from the dual horns. And then on the next battle against the Chimera, these are forced encounters, by the way, which is why we have to fight them. On this battle, you lance it the Chimera and you learn aqua breath. And again, every time you learn an ability, Kimahri gets an instant overdrive from it, and that allows us to basically just next turn he has, and thanks to the Sonic Steel and the first strike turn order, he gets his turn very quickly to just use it again.
Indeed.
And so that just makes these battles a lot quicker, and that's pretty much the end of home there. And so we're going to be coming up to arguably one of the other hard boss battles when learning the run or getting through this battle, because it is very reliant on turn order and execution, and if you do things out of order or improperly, the battle's just going to go bad. It also depends on if you have blitz win or blitz loss too, because the thing with Everay is Everay will do specific things based on like HP values or certain turn orders, and that's why like what you're going to see here in a little bit as we get on our ship, the airship, the staple of the Final Fantasy series. Most have airships. I think 15 is the first one not to, I want to say, unless you count the car.
The car is not an airship. I will die on this hill.
Doesn't make you want to. I don't think 16 is going to have airships.
I'm good on spheres. Nice.
How are we on spheres?
I'm good on spheres.
Nice. I didn't see. Did you switch the party to Kimahri and Riku?
I did. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so here we're on the ship. Rin, if we need to get what are called the distillers to help with spheres, we would talk to Rin, because the distillers will guarantee power and speed sphere drops for the enemies that we kill. And here's the safety save we're going to make just on the off chance something with the Beville Guards battle, or even Every, goes a little sideways. But Every, let's talk Every. So, like I said, Every, again, one of those battles where you got to be very deliberate with your actions. So, what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be hasting Titus. So, essentially, the turn order should go haste Titus, cheer Titus, and then depends on who gets the third turn. If Titus gets the third turn in a row, we actually have him just change armor. Not do anything beyond that. But if Riku goes next, which is what we want to see, she's going to use that luck sphere that we picked up at the very beginning of the run. And we're going to use a luck sphere with a map, and it's going to give us Miracle Drink. And Miracle Drink is going to guarantee every hit is critical, because we got to do some damage fast on Every here, because we only want to see Every attack us twice on a blitz win. If Every attacks 3 times, we're in trouble. So now we're going to attack 2 times with Titus, and we have to cheer on Titus's third turn, because if Titus attacks a 3rd time in a row, Every will counter with a Petrifying Gaze, which will completely ruin the battle. And so we do cheer 1 more time. Titus is going to attack 3 more times, and if Kamari and Riku get turns, they're just going to steal, because the goal here is to hopefully get 2 gems for the Baron Yankee fight that's coming up a bit later. If we don't get him, that's fine. And also, we got some good RNG. Every did attack Riku, which is ideal, because that means she'll have overdrive, so we don't need to farm it for later, which is perfect. So that actually was a very good Every battle. We got 2 steals, Riku got overdrive, and everything else went textbook at that point. And then now, absolutely, the Beville Guard battle. So we jump in, we heal everybody up. And now we just got to get through these next 5 battles. So battles 1 and 3 are pretty textbook. We're just going to have Titus attack everybody, because he'll instantly kill each of these. He kills everybody basically in 1 hit for the most part, but there's no high risk in this first battle if you just have Titus attack. The battle 2 and 4 is where things get to be dangerous if you don't have sleeping powders, or if you mess up somewhere on the attacking. So the goal here is Titus will attack the robot until it's dead, and then Riku will use sleeping powder, because sleeping powder will put these flame troopers to sleep. Because the big thing is these flame troopers will basically kill the party if they do their flame attack, because it's like an AoE attack that does a pretty good amount of damage here. So we put them to sleep, and then we have Kamari throw a silence grenade to kill them. So it's it's basically 2 grenades, 2 throwables, and they're down and out for the count. And then battle 3 is going to be the same as battle 1. So Titus is just going to jump in, go for a bunch of basic attacks. Now, one thing to talk about is if you had spear trouble, or you need power or speed spheres, these battles 1 and 3 are the times where you're going to either use a distiller for the appropriate sphere that you need, or if you are doing what's called the P Claw, or in some cases the S Claw strat, it's where you customize Riku's weapon to be a power or speed distiller. So all she has to do is basic attack the enemy, and if you kill that enemy, they'll drop the sphere of that weapon. So sometimes it's a strat like I'll use, for instance, where if I need power spheres, Riku will just melee attack guards on 1 and 3, and then you'll get power or speed spheres from killing them. And then there's battle 4, same as before, kill the robot, sleeping powder, silence grenade. Now battle 5 is a little different depending on your throwables and what you have here. And so we'll probably be doing, since we don't have 2 bomb cores, we'll be hasting Riku, and Riku is going to throw 2 throwables to kill the guards in the front. So she's basically going to throw either 2 silence grenades, probably 2 silence grenades in this case, because we got 6, and that will kill the 2 guards in the front. And then when Titus gets his turn, he's just going to attack the robot, and the robot's going to die. And that's pretty much the entire battle. There is a version of that battle where, let's say you have 2 bomb cores, you can actually have Titus kill the 2 guards, and then have Kamari and Riku throw the bomb cores at the robot. So there's variations. And then that's pretty much Beville guards. We made it out. It's time to do the most notorious temple of them all.
Yeah, this one's a little bit annoying, and I don't know if everybody does it the same way or not, but I know the way that I do it, it's pretty consistent. So we'll see how it goes. And it is another temple. This one, let's say, JD, we've got about 2 minutes, and then we need to close the Bahamut naming incentive.
Ooh, all right. Well, I will let people spend that couple of minutes trying to get donations in. Speaking of donations, too, we have a $25 donation from Sevyote saying it is coffee hours. I know you guys said that a long while ago, but finally able to get that squeezed in. Thank you so much for that donation. Sev. And I will also say that Talsrace was so generous earlier, and we did some amazing stuff. I will actually also go for this between now and the end of this Final Fantasy X run. I will match donations up to $500 as well. This generosity from the community is amazing. So let's go ahead and get those donations in.
That's incredible. Yeah, anybody who can donate, that is getting a match right now. You know, you're getting double your money, so definitely take advantage of that.
Yes, the Beville Temple. I think I think people. There was a comment in chat that was probably referring to the elevator. So, fun fact, and a lot of people don't know this, or even speedrunners. I didn't know this for a while until somebody pointed it out. Yes, there's an elevator at the top of those spiral staircases, which saves you a fair amount of seconds to go down instead of having to run down the stairs there. Which is great. But here we are in Beville Temple. So the thing with this is that there's a lot of like moving platforms, and you have to do a lot of stuff with spheres. And because this is the only temple that's not replayable, the game actually forces you to do the destruction sphere. So we didn't really touch on destruction spheres. Destruction spheres are ideally side content for the temples, because the goal is you have to do that if you want to get anima later on, is you have to get the destruction sphere chest in every temple. And because you can't redo the Beville Temple, the game makes you do it. So the temple is arguably longer as a result, because it's built into the framework of it to actually get to the end of the temple here. And so what we're doing is we're trying to minimize the amount of times that we go down paths or repeat tunnels, because the arrow pointing are deliberate. So like right here, this right turn that was made, if the arrow, try my best to kind of explain it in a way that makes sense. When you get to the part where you're sitting there and it's like press X to continue and the arrow is rotating, and you have to wait for the arrow to point, north. If the arrow for this right turn we just made is not facing to the right, it will not let you go to the right. It will only go straight across. And so we, or runners or people who've routed this and worked on optimizing this temple, have found like, how many rotations of the cursor it needs to make, or how many, what direction it can be facing to know for sure if it's going to work and stuff. And it is arguably another one of those like parts of learning this run that you'll probably lose, you'll lose a fair amount of time in the beginning. And as you kind of learn the optimization or learn the appropriate measures to take for knowing when to hit X, when not to hit X, when to wait, when to go, you'll start to lower and lower the amount of time wasted making unnecessary like movements in pathways.
Yeah, and the other thing about this temple is if you make a little mistake, it is so punishing.
Yeah, depending on the direction you end up going, like sometimes you have to like wait for like an entire, like you have to like go down like an entire like sub path just to get back to where you were. So yeah, it can be very punishing and time loss if you just don't go down the right path. But we're almost towards the end of this, so we've got to go down the path. So it's a little hard to see, but if you look at the furthest arrow, if it's pointing to the right, that's kind of like your visual aid to kind of like help you know if it's going to work or not. If you can see the arrow at the very end when you hit the X button, if it's pointing to the right, like I was saying, then you'll know that if you hold the X button right before it will guarantee you go to the right. But if it's pointing up, it is not going to work. You're just going to shoot straight past it. For the longest time, it kind of drove me insane, because I was like, why isn't this working?
Yeah. It's also the way it's written in the guide, which this game has an incredible guide for new runners, by the way. And I don't know if it's been updated, but I think the way it was written, it seemed to imply that it didn't really matter, but it matters for the ones on this last level specifically. So
there have been some recent updates to wording and text as recent as maybe like within the last 2 weeks to add more context or add a little more context ultimately to like what you're doing and that's for the whole run too, like, and remove some unnecessary like information as well.
Yeah, if you're watching this and this looks fun to you, I really, like, this is the perfect time to get into this game right now. The community is really active. It's been in a lot of marathons lately, including GDQ, And I think, honestly, cutscene removers for PC games from this PS1, PS2 era of Final Fantasy are just going to be more and more common. And they're going to really open a lot of doors for people to speedrun these games that maybe didn't exist before. So,
yeah, somebody who...
I think FF8 already has one, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, yes. So Final Fantasy 8 and 9, though 9's is, to my understanding, still somewhat in development. Final Fantasy 8 does have a cutscene remover as well.
Sorry, I need to jump in. I do need that Bahamut name now. My bad.
No, you're good.
No worries. So we got a $50 donation from Oasis that says, "Look at all those chickens!" And chickens is indeed the winner here, all caps, CHICKENS.
Fantastic. Tastes like chickens. All right. Thank you so much for all of the donations for those name bid wars. That's a lot of fun. And yeah, we're gonna really start to flex with these Aeons like almost immediately here. So you're in for a treat.
Yeah, it's time to let Yuna take over for the rest of the run. So Titus has done his job. Unfortunately, he's kind of reached the end of his use. Unfortunately for battles. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat there. But yeah, Titus has done a great job carrying us through the mid game. We have now entered, after every, we have entered what one could call the end game part of the speed run. So this is where Auron is finally going to come into use on his sphere grid. So we're going to get Auron to a specific part of his sphere grid, or to the sphere grid, which is going to allow Yuna, through the power of that teleport sphere, to actually teleport over to Auron, where there's a lot more strength spheres. And those strength spheres are going to allow Yuna to really buff up Bahamut's attack power, because his attack power is reliant on Yuna's strength stat, as the community found. So we're going to basically start pumping Yuna full of strength. As you can see through this, this is one of her longer menus, but we're going to continue to do it piece by piece as we gain more sphere levels, and as we get through some battles, we're just going to keep adding more and more strength, because the goal is to ultimately, at a point, it's usually right before Yunalesca, Yuna is going to have 70 strength and about 35 speed, so that way she can, go fast and stuff. They also do gain stats based on the amount of spheres that you've learned. So some of these other spheres we've been getting, like defense, which helps with just our defense stats, the MP stuff. Even though we're not really going to use anything with MP, they are going to just help build, Bahamut to be a lot stronger. It's not even just Bahamut. So Ixion gets some love as well. So Ixion is actually going to be the one to take down the next couple battles, depending on how many we get here with the larva. A couple reasons for that is, one, Ixion attacks much faster than Bahamut. So it's just quicker to, because you have to watch the cutscene the first time you summon them, and then after that the animation is a lot quicker. It's the short version as we set it in the menu. And then, yeah, he just jumps in and just whacks. Just Bubsy gets in there and just slaps him with the horn, and then boom, instant kill there. We also got a crit too, which is nice.
Yeah. There's a couple other things that are going on here. We need, between this map and the next map, we need 4 sort of random monster kills on Yuna to keep up with our XP curve. So we're going to get at least 2 here, maybe 3. And then the other thing is, I'm blanking now. What? Sorry. Anyway, Asaru. If I was RNG tracking, this would be an extremely important time in the run, because this is where you're kind of finalizing how to get your no encounter armor if it's possible, because the game is very, very deterministic from this point out.
Yeah, this, as it was mentioned, this is like the best time to... This is the part of RNG tracking, if we were still tracking at this time, to really finalize how am I going to get the armor. Because at this point, everything after here, you are going to deliberately cause yourself. There's nothing... Because the larva battles, you can't control how many you get between, the beginning and the end. So you may get 1, you may get 2. I one time got 4. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Normally 4 is very rare. Like, the length of distance shouldn't cause that, but I got it one time. And so yeah, once you have that, then you have to start looking at your RNG tracking and see like, okay, what is it going to take for me to get to armor? Because it almost never will line up by the faith of whatever, you know, god or person you may worship at the end of the day, if you do that and all that, to actually get it without having to do some like really random stuff that chat might be like, why are they doing it? And that goes back to what I was talking about before about how it's affected. So there are times where we are tracking RNG and we may see like, okay, we're gonna kill how many larvae do we get? 3 or 2?
2. We got 2 this time.
Right, so we got 2 larvae, so that means we're gonna have to kill 2 robots. So we'd have to put that in the tracker, and so we have to see what our armor looks like. Are we gonna get it? Are we not gonna get it? And if we're not gonna get it, we have to start thinking, okay, well, what's gonna get us the chance to get it? Is it fighting Beer and Yankee first, because Beer and Yankee are guaranteed to drop 2 equipment drops, so that will help roll the RNG? Or are we gonna have to do something really random like kill our teammates like 3 times to roll the RNG? Because sometimes you might see that in some runs where Titus will just randomly attack Orin or Kamari to kill them to roll the RNG, or you'll like randomly steal on something, because we're deliberately doing those actions to force RNG to roll, to let us get the no encounter armor on the first ghost that we attack.
Yep. So yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. And this is really, like I said, kind of the time when you can make your plan, so to speak, and hopefully the fruits of your labor will come to pass. So, but since we're not doing that, we just kind of get to sit here and do a Pokemon battle with Isaru, so...
Yeah, so as it was mentioned, we used Bahamut for the first 2 phases to just take down Ifrit and Valifor within 1 to 2 hits. Because we can't use Bahamut on Bahamut, like apparently you can't summon the same Aeon that's being used against you. We instead use Ixion to do about 5 attacks, less if you get any crits on the enemy as well. Now, because Bahamut just stands there until it does Mega Flare essentially, and you'll kill before that.
Thankfully, mine knows other attacks. So, this next section is the swimming section. Fun fact, there's a couple parts between now and the end of the run where you end up underwater, and you always get the party Titus Wakariku for those parts. And I guess it's just because nobody else can swim, ? But it does have a couple minor implications later on, but I just think it's a funny thing to point out and mention about the game and some of the puzzles and stuff as well. So
yeah, I always thought that was interesting. It's like, and that's why it's also important, like when we're tracking for our no encounter armor, we hope for a swimmer gear, because there are some swimming sections that you will still get encounters on, because the characters are like physically removed from the party. Even though armor, like no encounter armor, will work with non-active party members, we always hope for a swimmer one. Here we have Every Atlantean. This battle, normally when you fight it casually, has this whole gimmick that I totally forgot about, where you like open up these gates and you basically like Every like chases you through this like long tunnel that we're just gonna swim through with no encounters. Oh, he's undead, so we just throw 2 Phoenix Downs and kill the boss, and then we get a nice casual swim through the rest of this tunnel instead of dealing with a boss battle.
Typical Final Fantasy kill the undead with Phoenix Downs strats. So, and I am going to be swimming here for a bit, so JD, if you have any announcements, this would be a great time.
Great, awesome. Well, I do want to say that when making a donation, do not forget to assign your funds to an incentive or a bid war. This option will be visible while filling in your donation and will help make the marathon the best that it could be. To see a list of all the other incentives that are happening and bid wars for the entire marathon, as well as their current status, you could use the command !incentives in chat. And I do want to announce that we have opened up, because you guys are absolutely wonderful, we made the bonus game Klonoa happen, and now there's a showcase that is available for the bonus to the bonus, a Blues Tower showcase with a $200 goal. that is open and available, as well as the bid war for Save or Kill Sid, where Save Sid is winning by only $41. So that is still turnable.
Just gonna say, not a big fan of Final Fantasy VI Sid, so if y'all want to kill him, feel free. I will not lose any sleep over that. So, and yeah, also the add-on incentive for Klonoa, that's a great little bonus on top of that run, so definitely get your donations in for that. We're doing more Sphere Grid with Yuna, but then we'll be back to the action here shortly, so...
Yep. And don't forget, the match is still on, where I will be donating up to a cap of $500 for all donations submitted between now and the end of Final Fantasy X. So get those donations in, folks. We're doing really, really awesome.
All right, and during that, we did one of our next menus, like we were saying before. We're going to be doing like these incremental menus to continue to buff up Yuna, so that way she can actually take down these bosses. Because she does, this is routed so heavily that Yuna's sphere levels are so tight that if she misses AP or you miscount your AP levels or don't do like the intended strats the way they are, you will be short sphere levels at the very end, and you may not realize this until you are like on the final boss that it matters for.
It happens. It's not fun, but yeah, if you stick to the script, you'll be fine. So, also, I just have to say it's very amusing watching Yuna swing her staff for like 7,000 damage. Never gets old.
Yeah, it's great.
But I think I'm short one. Yeah, I need to do one more.
You killed two. Those two robots.
Oh, I thought I needed 2 sphere levels. Maybe not.
No, you only need 1 because you should hit level 3 with this boss battle.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Okay. Yep. All right. Never mind. We're good then.
Yeah, if you kill 2 larvae, 2 robots, that's all you need. And unless I looked away at the wrong time, you haven't missed any AP on Yuna.
Yep. And I'm good on Lulu too. So, anyway, Seymour again.
Yeah, such a tough battle we have coming up here. It's going to be like 20 turns long. Just very challenging. So we have to attack with Titus, do a little bit of damage, and then we're going to summon chickens.
Get in there, chickens. Yep. Yeah. And then this happens.
Just gonna come in there and be like, and like take you, just punch you out.
Yep.
Oh, look at that! Battle's over. Oh, I was wrong.
Yeah. So there's going to be a handful of battles like that the rest of the way here. So good times for everybody involved. So
yeah, get used to Yuna punching things out. Speaking of entertaining Nodus battle, so when I was learning this run, I was just learning it, and a member of the community told me to just attack with Bahamut. No need to do it with no need to attack with Titus. Just you're fine there. So yeah, I went for it and I got lucky, and I think I got a crit, or I didn't under damage or something. So the reason why we attack with Titus there is what I'm getting at, is because if you just attack with Bahamut, you have a chance to under damage, and Seymour does instantly kill Aeons. You can't leave them more than a single turn. So he'll banish them, and yeah, I got lucky. I got lucky, but I don't recommend it. Don't swag strat it.
He will Morbius absorption them. Another really easy mistake that you can make is if you forget to do that sphere grid that I just did and give Unit exactly that 4 more strength, you will more than likely, unless you get a crit, not be able to defeat the Defender X boss, which is coming up next. So always make a point to do that one.
Yeah, I mean, depending on if it's a PB run or a marathon run, if you really didn't get the AP levels you need, you usually should be able to just summon Bahamut and impulse one of these enemy encounters, 3 or 4 enemies, and that because they'll all die from one impulse, and that should offset the lost AP for the sphere grid that you need. But speaking of the Morbius, because I saw it mentioned in chat, there's actually a no sphere grid strat depending on your collectible the items that you've stolen up to this point, where you actually wait for the poison to kill Seymour in that battle, believe it or not.
Oh no.
So normally if we were still RNG tracking, Unfortunate, of course, of the crash, but you know we're not going to let that deter us from putting on a still a great showcase. This is actually the part where we would almost be ready for encounter armor. So what's going to happen here is after we leave the Comlands, we are going to fight Defender X, and after we fight Defender X, there is a branching path over to the right, and that takes us to the Cavern of the Stolen Faith, which is where the ghost is. Sorry, I'm like losing my train of thought in the middle of my sentence. But yeah, that's where the ghost is. We go to the Cavern of the Stolen Faith, and then that's, depending on our RNG tracking, we'll see what encounter it is. We get the ghost, we take it out, and then, profit from there.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I appreciate the gesture. It's gonna be just fine though. I do feel bad, but crashes happen. Okay. And with the names, I'm always like double checking to make sure it's like, is that really the Aeon I want to summon? Okay, good.
Yeah, imagine running the game in the faster language though.
Oh gosh, yeah, I haven't broached that one yet. Yeah, that's another way that even in CSR you can save some time. Is, I believe, is it Chinese is the fastest for the text boxes?
Yes. It's Chinese is the fastest text language. And we slap Defender X twice there and call it a night.
Yep. Got a very important story point coming up here, story battle. So this is Mount Gagazet. This is the Ronso village, basically. And Kamari is going to have to stand up to the two big jerks that have been bullying him for his entire life and also broke his horn. There's also, we've basically been excommunicated as well for reasons. But we are going to prove our strength to the Ronso here, and they are going to allow us to proceed up the mountain and continue our pilgrimage.
Hornless.
It's a good line.
One cool thing about this battle is that their stats are actually reliant on Kamari's, believe it or not. And so because we haven't really done a ton with Kamari when it comes to gridding, they're not actually that powerful. And so because of that, the gems that are these multi-attack hits, I forgot how many, I think it's like 6 hits, they do enough damage to actually take them out and overkill them, because we do need the overkills, because they have a chance to drop either a return sphere or a friend sphere, and this is where your menuing deviates based on what you get. Ooh, ideally, what'd you get?
I got 2 and 2.
Hey, we got 2 and 2. That's awesome. So I was actually just about to say, ideally, you want to get 0 and 4, but that's super rare because that's 2 rare drops. Or that's 2 rare drops, but 2 and 2 is the more like realistic thing we hope for. Because with 2 and 2, what's going to happen here is it's going to allow Yuna to get more strength. Not only is it going to let Yuna get more strength early on, making a few bosses go down a little bit better, and also saves you a menu after Spectral Keeper going into Yunalesca, but also actually makes her need less sphere levels, because we won't need to move her as much for things. So this is menu changes based on what you get. So we basically move Lulu to a specific point here, because now we're going to have Yuna Friend Sphere over to Lulu to get those 2 strength nodes that you see there.
Where are you, Lulu?
And then we're going to go back to Lulu, who's going to move again, because Yuna doesn't have a whole lot of sphere levels right now. So we're going to move Lulu again up to the top right corner there, and then we're going to friend sphere one more time over to Lulu, so we can get about 7 more strength and 4 agility. And this is going to help us out, because now on the next boss battle against Seymour Flux, we actually have a very good chance to actually kill him with Bahamut using Impulse, versus Bahamut dying and being banished and then having to use Yuna to finish off the battle. So this actually should hopefully save us a fair amount of time. And then now we're going to use Titus to move over to Armor Break, because we need Armor Break, because while Bahamut is pretty powerful, there are some bosses that he can't one-shot unless we lower their defense. And so we use armor break with Titus. It's basically he's become the armor break guy at this point. And then we're going to use this we're going to use the 2 return spheres to put first strike on Orin, on Orin's shimmering blade weapon that we bought earlier. We're finally making use of it, and on Yuna's original weapon, her staff. And the big reason for that is because you're probably thinking, well, why those 2 characters specifically? It's because Braska's final Aeon, which comes much later, has a forced formation of Orin, Yuna, Titus, and we need all of them to take their turns before BFA, or we'll die instantly in that battle to be able to beat him.
Yep. So we're on a good path now. It's not the most common, so I'm also just being really careful, because if you screw up a sphere grid, it's like obviously really, really bad. So there's no takebacks other than if you move wrong, but once you like lay a sphere, you're done. So
yeah, then it turns into
extra careful.
Yeah, then we have to load like an autosave. Thankfully, there aren't any like autosave moments for now, at least, that are irreversible for that to happen. Might just be a decent time loss is all, but
yep,
nothing too crazy.
Yep, we're still doing good though, so we are progressing. We're just going to get a few more encounters than, obviously this is the point where I would prefer to have the no encounter armor, which is, the game basically just becomes a walking simulator at that point, which is pretty enjoyable, so.
Yeah, it's pretty handy. Yeah, part where we get to kind of hang, kind of chill, just enjoy the scenery of Mount Gagazat and inside of Mount Gagazat. And because Riku got her overdrive on Evray, we don't actually need to build it here. So this would be another, so this is, again, depending on like what strat you're doing, what you're aiming to go for. If Riku didn't have overdrive, you would attempt to build her overdrive here on an encounter against some robots, some Machina robots. And so, we don't need to worry about it. Every attacked us, so that saves us the extra encounter, so we can just flee from everything. There is an alternative strat where you can like throw a silence grenade. Won't do as much damage, so it's a little bit slower, for instance. But no need to. It may as well just do the mix that we're gonna do with Chaos Grenade, especially if we've got 2 and 2, because there's a pretty good chance that, like I said, Bahamut is gonna nuke Seymour Flux up here.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so it is nice that, the one upside there, again, agreed, is being able to use the faster strat on this upcoming boss fight, so. Alright, so let's get on the next screen.
Yeah, the RNG manip, just to touch real quick and we'll talk about Flux, it's not a mod. It is a text, it's basically a notepad text file editor that you as the runner must input the data yourself. It doesn't do it for you, which is why it is allowed and stuff. But let's talk about Flux. So Seymour Flux, again, fairly straightforward battle depending on like what kind of sphere grid you've had up to this point, but this is where the first strike is important. We need everybody to take their turns as soon as possible. So Yuna's going to use her turn to just lay in some damage. Titus is going to haste Yuna to get that speed up, because we potentially need that. She's got to do some attacks, plus it just gets her turn a lot quicker for her to bring out Bahamut. And then now the goal is to have Riku use a grenade and any purple sphere. Ultimately, it doesn't have to necessarily be the HP one, whichever one menu-wise you come to first. Cast a Chaos Grenade, because not only will it silence, I forgot which character it silences, which makes them basically not do anything but stand there. But it does a fair amount of damage. You saw there, like 5-7k worth of damage to both. Because when you hurt the one piece, it absorbs HP from the other one. And then we went for the melee attack, because on a 2-2 you can just go for the physical attack, which should get you the overkill. And right there, that's actually a pretty hefty time save, because normally if you're on a 4-0 or basically 4 return spheres, no friend spheres, you won't have as much attack. And so what will normally happen there is Seymour will banish Bahamut, so you lose time watching the animation, him talking, him doing the villain monologue anime thing they all do. And then from there, you basically have to just melee attack with Yuna and Titus. And the goal is to ultimately get an overkill, and only Yuna can get the overkill. If Titus gets the finishing blow, it will not be an overkill. and that's going to cause you to take an extra encounter in Xanarkin Ruins later on. So this does save some time, not having to take an extra encounter to make up for the sphere levels. And now we've entered Mount Gagazet, so a bunch of more story stuff progressed. Some, Dream World stuff. We're starting to learn a little more and more of the world, and kind of like the end game at this point. And now we get to go through the tunnel where there's a couple puzzles or mini games.
Yeah, they're not too bad. One is annoying, and one is basically the puzzle that I think they made for Waka to make him feel special. So, but
make me rage.
We're just going to be running here for a minute, so I think this would be another really good time for donations and announcements.
Great, thank you so much. So earlier, some folks were lamenting missing the one awesome scene, and although one can watch that scene just by looking it up on YouTube, if you do want to see it on YouTube, you could watch it on our YouTube. So we are proud to be running our 8th charity marathon. Time really does fly, just like our runners. And if you want to catch up on this event or any of our past events, our YouTube page contains a playlist from every marathon we've done, and videos from this marathon will be added shortly after the event is done. Get subscribed now by using the command !YouTube in the chat and following the link.
All right. This puzzle has been really bugging me lately, so I hope I get it first try. Otherwise, I'm going to blame Waka.
I have a love-hate relationship with this puzzle. There is a specific way to do this puzzle that's supposed to guarantee a timing, when a certain thing overlaps another certain thing. And yeah, it's hit or miss. I have runs where I get a first try, kind of like you did, and I have runs where I hit it 4 or 5 times, and I've had it heavily affect my PB chances as a result.
Yes, I can also say the same, but I believe there is a way to. It's basically the thing goes through 3 rotations. I believe there's a really small window that you can get it on the second one. I have a pretty good visual cue for the third one, so that's usually what I go for. Yeah,
it's tough to explain without pictures, but there's a thing in the center when it lines up with another thing on the second pass, you then throw it.
Right there with your loading,
I know, right? I'm still improving my ability to just do it on a whim.
If you were watching really closely, I'm sure you saw exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly.
It was when the thing lined up with the thing in the center.
Yeah, that thing over there. It was that thing.
Yep. So I'm just glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't muck that up 5 times in a row, because you absolutely will start tilting if you miss that puzzle more than once. So. But yeah, now we're headed to another puzzle at the end of another swimming sequence, and this one is something. It's very color coordinated. Oh, I think I'm gonna try to get Riku's overdrive here, maybe. If Titus can... Oh, no, I'm not gonna risk it. We tried to escape once, and we will have other chances to farm that. I'm not worried about it. By the way, the behemoths in this game look amazing. Just gotta get that out of the way.
Yeah, they do look pretty great. Yeah, we have plenty of times to farm for Riku's Overdrive. Usually, when it comes to farming for Riku's Overdrive, the optimization to look for is enemies that are going to do a lot of damage, because the more damage you take, the more you gain. So if you try to gain it on those robot battles or slime battles or battles with enemies that are just a lot weaker, or not weaker, but don't hit as hard as Behemoth or a Defender Z, for instance, then you end up wasting more time taking multiple encounters, because we don't really have the resources to excessively revive anybody at the end of the day. So because we've only bought
attitude. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't see you buy more than 4 Phoenix Downs.
Yeah, if I have to buy distillers, I almost always will buy 2 more. And I did take a couple deaths on that Wendigo fight, so I was a little nervous, but I have enough at this point, so I'm not too worried about it. That was the puzzle, by the way. Everybody goes in the hole that obviously they are meant to fit in, and then you solve the puzzle. So, yay, good job, team.
Yeah, it's
Goes
apparently
into the square hole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's apparently reliant on the color of their sphere grid is which hole they're going into. And so Riku's sphere grid is green, Titus is blue, and Waka's is red. Or did I have that backwards?
Yeah, okay, that works. Also, Riku's smallest, Titus is medium sized, and Waka is thick. So there you go. That's how I do. That's how I remember it. All right, so we're coming up here to a boss fight. Ooh, I'm gonna get another crack at it, maybe. Oh, never mind. Let's just get out of here.
I mean, worst case scenario, you can do the armor break strat.
Boy, they just really, really want me to fight them right now. That's fine. There will be more opportunities. I am not worried about that. Let's just get this boss fight down. If it had been another one, I swear. The things are like hunting me. So, it wasn't.
Some runs feel that way.
Alright, let's get Yuna in there. Kind of like when we had Riku earlier, you actually don't want Yuna in the party because she'll go before Titus every time now. So we try to keep our formation set that way so that it doesn't allows us to basically just escape on the first turn every time. So
yeah,
summon chickens.
Yeah, we take Yuna out of the party whenever we don't need her for like an upcoming boss battle because yeah, it's a lot more time waste having to defend every turn and then flee. Yes, the music that's playing here is an after effect of the cutscene remover. Because of the nature of how it removes the cutscenes, it does affect the audio files in some places. So certain battles either have the wrong music or there's no music. That's just the nature of what it's tied to.
Yep. Yeah, there's not too many, but that's one of them. The extractor fight that we had earlier is one of them. So there's a handful. But yeah, we have arrived in Xanarkand. It's very quiet and ominous, and it's gonna be running down a big hill, and it does exist. We weren't making this up, everyone. Xanarkand does exist. Let's go find those Xanarkand Abes and get reunited with our Blitzball team.
Oh no, did you just reset the run?
Yeah, that is the scene that plays at the opening sequence. Sorry, that took me a second. That's funny.
Sorry, yeah, you forget about it. It's good old classic any percent meme.
Actually, hold on.
Every runner goes through when you get to this part, because for those who remember the cutscenes, the game starts with the fire camp scene outside Xanarkand's ruins. And so pretty much the same cutscene plays when you get to this exact point. So it's just one of those meme jokes that you see in our any percent runs. It's like, oh man, I resetted the run.
The one I always fall for is, I don't remember who it was, but somebody told me way back when I was first learning the run, it might have been you, honestly, I don't even know. Like, it's like, we're getting hazed. But they were like, oh, you have to run with the original soundtrack, it's faster. I was like, really? And then I did it for a couple runs, I'm like, this doesn't seem right. And then somebody was like, yeah, they're just messing with you.
Well, you should always run with the original soundtrack. The arranged one is something.
I think it's more that, yeah. I think it's just like you get looked down upon if you use the arranged. I am using the arranged now because specifically the battle with Braska's Final Aeon kicks like 100 times more butt than it does in the original soundtrack. So I am comfortable in that assessment of things.
Quiet, the 10 community who might hear.
Gosh, we made it 3 hours through a run without a Final Fantasy related controversy, but here we are. So yeah.
So yeah, we're pretty much just running through the ruins here, fleeing from all encounters. We did open up a few chests along the way. Technically they're optional, but you play the game of like, will my attack land or do I get the miss? The reason is because Yunalesca, there's a point where Bahamut gets blinded by one of her attacks, and if you don't do the luck sphere and the fortune sphere that we're picking up along the way here, you have a chance of missing your hit without that. But by gritting the extra luck, you won't miss the attack.
Yep.
Usually, I think a lot of people tend to go for it. I think the only time we don't go for it is if you forget to open the chest and it's like, well, I don't want to run backwards because it's a lot of encounters. It seems more hurtful to run back and get it than to just take the YOLO.
At that point, yeah, for sure.
And we got Riku's overdrive along the way, so she is prepped and primed for, depending, either an emergency backup strat on Seymour Omnis or for BFA.
Yep. We don't have that much left, honestly. There's only 2 dungeons left after this, really. So we're getting close to the end here.
Getting close to the end. We do got a lot of bosses.
Not time wise. I don't want to give the stream tech the wrong impression, but we're getting very much to the end game here. So
yeah, we've got well, we got to play Tetris first. So we got to get through some Tetris.
It's true.
And then from there it's like 8 bosses or something. It's a pretty good amount because we have to fight Sin still.
Yes,
and he's like Sin and 4 bosses in one.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Tetris coming up. Is Ian Keith in the chat? Because I might need some Tetris help from them. Ian is one of our community members, so I think recently finished 2nd in like a major Tetris tournament. So
it was pretty huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember everything correctly. So, all right, I
got
got a menu line block here, and then
just use the line block. Clearly, right? I know what I'm saying about Tetris.
Yep. Oh shoot. Oh no, that one. Yes, it's that one. Sorry. Visual confirmation.
Yep, this is what we're doing. This is another menu that is slightly deviated based on your Baron Yankee fight as well. So just things to be mindful of. Because what you get here... And this is actually where we are going to avoid an extra menu after Spectral Keeper. Because we got the 2 and 2, we have our 70 strength and 35 agility after this menu. Because normally if you get 4 return spheres and 0 friend spheres, what will happen there is you'll have to do a short additional menu after you take out Spectral Keeper, because you'll get some sphere levels that allows you to get the rest of the strength you need for Yunalesca. Now you can, if I recall correctly, you can still beat Yunalesca, I think, without the sphere levels, but it, will hurt you for the rest, because you do need it for, you do need the entire menu the way it's written for BFA.
Yep.
As many runners, I don't think anybody who's learned the game, unless you just do like one run and call it a day, I think people who like actively run the game, you'll always have a run that will die at BFA because of something.
You'll be like 1 sphere level short, yeah. So, but yeah, we're doing all the things that we need to do here. So yeah, spheres is another one for sure. But yeah, we're just going to be playing some Tetris for a couple minutes here, and I'm going to need to focus anyway. So JD, I think if you have, you've probably got a couple good solid minutes here for donations and announcements.
Great. No, thank you so much, Blaze, and best of luck with the Tetrising there. So, folks, once again, we are doing our Fastest Furs Fall Festival all weekend long. Blaze is over 3 hours into an amazing run of the Final Fantasy X any percent cutscene remover. And we've got lots of awesome gaming coming along as well. Earlier today, we unlocked our bonus game 2 for Klonoa's remaster, and the bonus to that bonus is available as an additional incentive as well. So please make sure that you're getting those donations in. There's currently an active match through the end of Final Fantasy X here, where I personally will be matching up to $500 that are donated in. We're about $50 in for that right now. And all of the money is going to raise money for our charity this weekend, Trans Lifeline, whose hotline has evolved from an entirely volunteer-run operation into a comprehensive resource that employs trans-identified staff and volunteers into a variety of roles. Hotline operators have already logged thousands of hours and are committed to being a reliable resource for years to come with your support. So for more information, please visit translifeline.org. And yeah, I'm seeing folks in chat actively checking out our donation link with !donate and our incentives with !incentives.
Yeah, don't leave that free money on the table. Those JD dollars.
Yeah, indeed.
What's the conversion rate on those?
Well, it sounds like it's 2 to 1 actually, so I don't know if that's before or after tax. All right, I got 2 more Tetris puzzles to go. So far, so good. This is the Oops All Oranges one, where we step on all the orange tiles. So peaceful. Kind of gives me like a Earthbound Soundstone vibes a little bit. Not so much this part, but a little bit when we actually solve all of them. We'll kind of do some like chimes and stuff. Sorry, JD, I can tell you're trying to talk. My bad.
No, no worries. I thought you were pulling off a pun there. Get it? Peaceful, because it's full of pieces. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yep. No, I'm not on your level with the puns, JD. Sorry. I cannot claim any credit for that being a deliberate pun.
And the puns this weekend have been absolutely top tier as well. Pun donation trains are absolutely fun to cause and to read. So let's keep all of that hype going as well.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be a speedrun marathon without plenty o puns. I dare say we should see more puns. How about that? There. I'm grinning like an idiot now because of that one. But hey, that's the last Tetris puzzle, so cool. Just have to grab this last shiny and put it in its pillar, and then we should be good to go.
The Tetris is over.
Yeah, I believe my party is good. I just want to double check that. No, actually, I don't think Yuna's in, unless I change that during the last menu, so I'll make sure. But then we're going to go fight Spectral Keeper.
Good old Spectral Keeper. Where we punch it out.
That's right. So it should be... Yep, I was wrong. So... We're good now. It's the Yuna show, everyone, if you haven't figured that out.
Thursday nights at 8 p.m.
Starring chickens.
Hey, chickens in Bubsy or Bugsy.
It was Bubsy. You had it right the first time.
Okay.
Yeah. So wait, was somebody saying in chat that Luca crash was actually like the game and not my computer? Because
yeah.
Yeah. Chris was mentioning.
Yeah,
that
so
stinks.
apparently,
Okay.
apparently, I guess it's a thing that can happen still. It happens during the Luca cutscene, where it just occasionally happens. Hey, look, useless crit.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm silently judging chickens right now. How dare you? But yeah, those do still happen, so I do feel bad. This I mean, to be completely honest, the cutscene remover is the most stable it's ever been right now, so I don't want people to have like the wrong impression about anything related to that. So, but things happen. All right, we really are just in the boss rush here now, so we're just immediately running to the Unalesca fight. It's going to look very, very similar to the fight we just did. It'll be a couple more turns, a couple more phases, but the important thing at the end of this fight, assuming there's no mishaps, is hopefully I will get a weapon drop, and if I do get a weapon drop, that weapon will have Zombie Strike, so I will need to pay attention to who that weapon is for, because that will come up on the final boss fight.
I got you. In case you miss it, I will see who it is.
I better not miss it. I will feel bad about that. So, although I did learn, contrary to what I thought, and it made sense after I thought about it, but in my last practice run, I did find out that if it's a Riku weapon, you do have to equip it before the final fight, which I guess again makes sense because Riku doesn't actually attack at all or need a first strike weapon. So.
Yep, if it's basically with the way it's currently routed, as long as it's not a weapon for Yuna, Titus, or Orin, you would equip it on the menu right before BFA.
Yep.
Because you need the first strike turn order for those three characters to get through BFA properly.
Yep.
But yeah, here we're fighting Unalesca, and normally this is the part where chat would be spamming exclamation point now, and it's like, now is the time!
Yeah.
Because Orin gives this like massive speech right before this battle that's like amazing.
Yeah, Coach Orin. Oh wow. Thank you for the excessive amount of 9s. Okay, we did get a weapon, it's for Waka.
Nice.
Very good.
Yeah, that's pretty much Unalesca. We just summon, Bahamut and get through all three phases. Because even though we're doing a lot of damage to Unalesca, you have to go through every phase to essentially defeat her. Because she's only got about like 132,000, which I guess the math breaks down to be proper for each attack we did on her.
Yeah, but she's got to show everything she's got, so. Story-wise, what just happened is traditionally what happens and has always historically happened at the end of the Summoner's Pilgrimage is they get to Unalesca, and then they have to choose one of their guardians to become the final summoning. And then that is the person, or I guess Aeon, once they get transformed, that defeats Sin. Unfortunately, the side effect of that is the person who becomes the Aeon becomes the next Sin. So we basically broke the cycle by not going along with Unalesca's plan and instead punching her in the face 3 times.
Yes, we have chosen to go against our faith.
Yes.
And
you have chosen violence.
We have chosen violence. And this is also why Sin is jacked.
Yeah, it'll be pretty obvious in a couple minutes if you didn't already know that, so I don't know if that's really going to be a spoiler. But also, we haven't really seen Jekt a lot in this run, so who knows. But anyway, this game's also over 20 years old. That's going to make you feel bad, so.
Yeah, at that point, I think we're past the statute of limitations on spoilers.
Yep. That's the meme that regularly gets shared with me is, what you think Final Fantasy was like 20 years ago and then what it actually was, and it's this game. So congratulations, everyone. You're old if you played this game as a child.
We made it.
I'm old.
It's okay.
I played this game on release day.
Yep. I definitely did the same. I was a freshman in college when this game came out, and it was good.
You probably don't want to know how old I was.
It's we don't have to go there. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think I was still in high school.
Okay.
Well, I'm 30.
So you were gonna make me feel bad. I see.
I'm 34. I'm 34. I'm 34. I was what, like 13 at the time. It was 2001. Yeah, maybe 14 or something, like just entering high school.
That was me with Final Fantasy VII, which was a really cool experience also.
7.
7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. And right now, what we're basically doing is, so for we've decided it's time for the final showdown. Here we go. And we go to fight Sin. And the way this battle works is it's a multi-stage battle. So the first thing we aim to do is we have to take out. We basically go after its fins. And normally, with the way the battle works is we can't reach the fins from where we're at. It's like it's out of range. I think Baka can reach it because he can clearly throw a ball that far. But normally what you would do is you would, we summon Bahamut and we just cast Impulse 2 times and win. But what you can do is you can use one of those like contextual like interaction things to tell Sid to move the ship closer to Sin. So when you move closer, it then allows you to actually like attack Sin with melee attacks if you were, maybe not as beefed up, because casually you probably aren't, or think to yourself, hey, let me summon Bahamut and throw. Funny enough, I actually beat this game as a kid abusing Holy with Yuna, because Yuna, I actually got her ultimate weapon and I got the break damage limit. I upgraded it to max, and I ended up just using Holy to like boss rush everything.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to take out the left fin and the right fin, and after you kill each fin, there's this like cool little cutscene of Sin basically losing its entire arm, and now it's basically like an armless head body after this battle.
Yeah, they kind of fall off. It's like it's overgrown, and we're trimming the chaff a little bit here. All right, and then this is phase 3 of this fight. This is the Janaeus and Core fight. I don't care about this big, creepy-looking plant thing in front. Unless I needed some spheres or a zombie strike weapon, then I might kill it, but it does take a little bit of time. So we are just going to go ahead and zap the actual, I don't know, it's like a vent, or the bloom of Sin.
Yeah, thankfully with the power of Impulse, we're able to just bypass Janaeus and just take out the core, which ends the battle essentially.
Yep.
Better
luck next time guarding that thing.
I know, right? Good job.
Yep.
A for effort trophy.
Yep. And now I have to run through the airship a couple times, so JD, I think this will probably be the last good time for donations and announcements, I would say.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have a $10 donation from Anonymous that says, "Let's go, Fastest Furs and Trans Lifeline." Thank you so much for the donation. And that chat, that's a signal to you that this is your last chance to get donations in as well, in order to be able to participate in the match that I'll be throwing down too. So, folks, even though I might not get a chance to say them during the run, I'm still going to be keeping an eye on where that total lands when we call time.
It's time for the final battle.
Yep, we can still get 7,000 by the end of this run with JD's help. Or maybe just with you, I don't even know. By your powers combined, I believe in you, chat, so.
Let's do it. The challenge is on.
Mm-hmm. We have one more form of Sin to fight. It's going to basically just go the same way as the other ones, although Bahamut is going to get to boop the snoot, which is pretty adorable, honestly.
Ooh.
We're gonna hope for a 1 boop.
Yeah, ideally just once.
No, I think on 2-2, it's I believe it. No, I guess this is the part where you have 7. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, we want to basically hope for 1 melee attack. So the way it basically works is we'll impulse, because we're too far away to do a normal attack. So we summon Bahamut, we'll do an impulse, it'll do a lot of damage, and then we'll get pulled in, drawn the Sin like twice, and then I'll put us in like melee range. And then we either hope for a high roll, which will take out overdrive Sin in 1 punch, or it will take like, 2 punches.
Boop. Got it. 1 boop.
1 boop indeed.
All right. So now we've actually landed the airship on Sin, and we have basically 2. This is the final dungeon of the game. We have 2 maps to run through. The monsters here are honestly pretty terrifying if you're playing this game casually. They do all sorts of horrible stuff. I didn't change my party, so I need to be careful not to summon Bahamut again on accident. Okay, we should be good now. And yeah, I basically just have to follow these water paths, but the camera makes this a lot harder than it probably is going to look, so hopefully I won't get stuck too badly.
Yeah, and there's no, as you can see, the map is filling in as you're running through it, so it's not easy to like predict where to actually go if you're unfamiliar, because it fills in as you move along.
Yeah, the tricky thing is just like a lot of times the camera angle will change on a specific step, and if you're not ready for it, you'll just careen into a wall, or you'll run the wrong way for a couple steps before you can kind of recorrect. So, but basically, if you follow the water, you'll be fine.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, just around the river bend.
That's right.
Live and let live.
I saw Hakuna Bahamut in the chat. That's nice. I haven't heard that one before. I love it. Definitely, Bahamut means no worries for the rest of your Final Fantasy X days, as long as you get Uniswole.
I won't go so easy on you next time.
There have been some absolutely phenomenal puns in chat. It's amazing.
There always are. Chat is awesome.
As a big fan of puns, I'm all for it.
I'll be right
Now, I
back.
will say preemptively, for those of you who are familiar with this game and understand music, I do have to say that unfortunately, because of the CSR, Seymour Omnis's infamous battle music does not play. So if you were hoping to hear that, I do hate to break it to you, you will not be hearing that. Honestly, we kill him so fast, even like once it gets to the good part, the battle's basically over.
It's true.
Live and let live.
I had a weird thing happen a second ago where, like, I got an encounter on the step that the camera changed, and then when it put me back, the camera was the other way, and I was very, very confused as to which way I was, like, which, if I'd run through the circle or not yet, so that took a moment, but we're almost there now.
I'll be right back.
Live and let live.
Yeah, we've just got ultimate for the rest of the run. We've got just 2 bosses that remain that are potentially dangerous if we've don't do things the right way, or if we have things happen that weren't accounted for or sphere gridded improperly. But once we get through the next 2 battles, should be smooth sailing for the rest.
Yep. So here we have Bizarro Seymour, as I like to call him.
Yeah, there are chances, and I've seen this with some runners. It's not very high, but there are chances that attacks might miss. Luckily, armor break did not miss. Or you have to do this like entirely different backup strat, where like Riku comes in and does this like mega null all ability to survive like the next attack and stuff.
Yep. I believe the reason that a lot of those sort of contingencies have to exist is there's always a 1% chance that you can miss. Or it's like 1 out of 101, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's a very low chance, but I've seen it. I've also seen Bahamut miss when going to punch Seymour, and I don't know if that is caused because the luck sphere with the luck stat was skipped, and that increases the chance or not. Admittedly, I didn't see that part of the run for that runner, but I did see that happen. It was unfortunate, of course.
If you run this game enough, you will eventually run into all sorts of weird, strange things that you find out that there's a reason why somebody painstakingly wrote that backup, even though you'll almost never have to use it. So thank you, people who wrote those backups. Probably a lot of Crim and Gray Fox, if I was to guess. And,
yeah, I mean them, and then a lot of over the years, some members of the community who no longer run, for instance, anymore. Also, because some of these strats have been are from PS2 era, like before this even existed. So
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, this is an older game, so a lot of these things are pretty well known, how to get through area X or fight X, you know, really well. So a lot of the Bahamut stuff is kind of layered on top of that. Mr. Titan, I also want to give a big shout out to. He has done a lot to make the guides, and also worked really hard on the AI tasks along with Coder Wilson that we got to show off at RPG Limit Break, and I was very grateful to be able to be a part of that commentary crew for that. Pretty amazing run, honestly. So shout outs to them, and also just everybody else that's worked on the cutscene remover and is, you know, everyone in the community for the speedrun is very, very helpful, and it's been a really good experience for me as a newer runner, I will say. So
yeah, it's been a wonderful time. I too am also a fairly newer runner. Here we have kind of the last mini game, the infamous Nucleus. The reason for that is, so the goal of this is you have to collect these little eggs. You have to collect 10 of them to get out of here. Now the drops, thankfully, are all guaranteed, which is fine, which is great, because one of the drops in here we actually use in the final menu to help with getting Yuna where she needs to. And the tricky part, though, is if you touch one of these icicle spheres, you cause an encounter to happen. And of course, that costs you several seconds, because then you have to flee. And then if one of the enemies that you can encounter is like the only enemy that overtakes first strike, and they will cast haste before you even get your turn. And so that also costs you time and stuff. So the goal is to ideally not run into any crystals. So far, this has been a pretty good Nucleus. But you also have to rely on like the RNG of where the eggs will spawn, and hope that the eggs spawn either in your viewpoint, or you can catch where one is. Like right now, this last orb is being a little dodgy, little dodgy for us, because the orbs don't stick around forever. They do disappear after a period of time as well. And so there goes the Nucleus, and so it's time for the final menu. Where we're gonna get Yuna the last of her agility. So there's no more strength to acquire, but we do need a little bit more agility, because Braska's final Aeon, all of BFA's attacks, except maybe Jet Beam, but I could be wrong on that. I'd have to fact check. But all of the attacks actually cause turn delay, and so that's why if you don't get this additional 8 or 11 agility that we get, you will basically have to hope for Jet Beam, because that will be the only way to actually survive the battle. Because if you don't get these, like, what, 3 agility nodes? Yeah, if you don't get these 3 last pieces of agility, you won't be able to go faster unless you get a Jet Beam, which is like a 1 in 3 chance of the attack you're going to get. Yep.
And then the only other thing I need to do is I need to equip Wakka's weapon with the zombie strike, and I have Riku's overdrive, so I'm good.
Yep, pretty much we're good to move forward. And we also pick up spare change, because spare change is important for the final battle, the final boss rush against your personal Aeons. And now if you don't have a zombie weapon, the alternative option there is to get zombie strike with Titus. Does cost more menu time to go menu it if necessary, and then if you don't have overdrive of Riku, you would get armor break and have Riku perform armor break. Since Titus needs to talk, so with this battle, Riku, this is where first strike is important. Yuna swaps out for Riku, so Riku can throw a chaos grenade or do armor break, depending, because Titus needs to talk, because talking will decrease the power of BFA here, and then Auron uses his turn to bring Yuna back into the fold, so we can summon Bahamut, and as long as everything's been gridded properly, we are just gonna punch dear old daddy here 3 times and call it a night.
Yep. And then the only bit of RNG is, as you were kind of alluding to, there's a 1 in 3 chance of him doing Jet Beam, which is much faster and also less dangerous. I cannot remember the last time he did Jet Beam, so it'd be cool if I got a little bit of good marathon luck, but we'll see. Everybody can also just kind of enjoy rocking out a little bit here for the rest of this fight.
And did we get a Jet Beam? No.
Nope.
But hey, you know what? This is where all that agility came into play, because if we did not have those agility nodes, in a moment here, BFA will attack you again. But he only gets one attack because of the agility we added.
All right.
And we are out of the danger zone, so now we just need to execute the last 5.5 minutes.
Yep. So this is kind of like the victory lap here. Part of the key to sort of sealing away Sin and the evil summoner that summoned Sin named Yu Yevon is there's not allowed to be any Aeons anymore. So we are basically going to summon our friends and defeat them all in the name of saving the world. So we get to say goodbye to... Gosh, it's been a while since I used Valfor. I forget what Valfor's name was. Sorry.
Arby's.
Arby's, of course. How could I forget Arby's? How could I possibly forget Arby's? And I'm hungry again.
We're just gonna him through the power of money.
Yes, this is great. Love this strat. Yeah, we're gonna say goodbye to Arby's. We're gonna say goodbye to Bubsy, and we're gonna say goodbye to Chickens for all of our friends, for all the good that they have done us throughout this run, especially throughout this run in particular, because certainly you can play through this entire game without really relying on the Aeons to get you through the tough battles, but boy, once you see it this way, I don't know why you'd want to play it a lot of the other ways, because let me tell you, I've struggled mightily against Unalesca and Braska's final Aeon particularly, like hours of dying to them. Trying to get through those fights. They are no joke, so.
Just like how you evolve donated to a wonderful cause, Yuna's donating to the end of this run in her own fashion.
Yep. If anybody else has any spare change lying around, this is a great time to throw it at Trans Lifeline.
That's right, we are in the final minutes, so folks, let's get those donations in.
Yeah, Final Fantasy X is always, it's kind of an interesting game when it comes to like final bosses, especially in the speedrun world. You know, for those who are familiar with final bosses and a lot of FFRPG runs, they tend to be, in some cases, slightly more dangerous, or there's still a lot more risk of the run dying, even at the very end. Thankfully, due to the auto life that we're bestowed upon, you can't really lose this battle. You just lose time having to finish the battle. And then, you know, we take down the boss with a Phoenix down.
Coming up here very soon, yeah. That weird black and red glowing orb is Yu Yevon. So we're like, get out of there. It's kind of like a what's the, not a poltergeist. I'm trying to think of what possesses. It's like a demon, basically. So I need my phasmophobia friends here to tell me what kind of ghost Yu Yevon is.
Got a spectral head crab.
I like it.
I can see it. It kind of looks like a crab.
Yeah. All right, so I just want to alert the tech crew that time is going to be coming up in probably about 90 seconds. We've got one more Aeon, and then we have the actual fight against Yu Yevon, which will be over very quickly, the way we are all set up here, so. And time is on a specific camera angle change, so I will call it once that happens.
It is time. We are in the end game.
Yes.
The time is now. I was hoping that would work in this chat.
You know, if it's not the actual like dedicated, I watch Final Fantasy speedruns every day crew, sometimes those moments just you get a little taste. You get a little taste of what it's like to be an RPG speedrunner on Twitch some days. So.
And there goes Bahamut.
Bye, chickens. We will meet again.
Bye, chickens.
And then Waka's got our zombie strike weapon, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sub Waka. Waka gets to be the hero. Oh my gosh, I just realized. For all of Waka's faults, he gets to be the hero today, so. Of which there are many.
Yep, and we should see white numbers on the Kiraga to indicate zombie status, and now we just throw Phoenix down.
Time. All right.
And
well,
that's
on my watch, I had a sub 340, so I think considering the 350 estimate and the crash that kind of nullified our RNG tracking,
Well,
I'm very happy. I'm very happy with that. Yeah, we get to watch we get to kind of ease out of things here. I do want to make sure we give our setup crew plenty of time for the upcoming Final Fantasy VI 4-person randomizer race, which I'm sorry, everyone. I hope the setup is going well, and I'm really looking forward to watching that. But I'm also really glad to be running right now and not having to do tech stuff for that. So, love you. See you soon. No, I have the producer in my ear, yeah, confirming that, yes, I definitely did not want to be a part of this. No.
Oh, goodness.
But no, for real, I'm so glad we get to show off Final Fantasy and a classic series and kind of like a block. Truthfully, there's a lot of games that we're getting to show off this weekend for the first time that I'm really excited about. We've got Kingdom Hearts 2 randomizer coming up today. We've got Devil May Cry and Pokemon tomorrow for the first time. With those really like famous series. So there's just so many good runs coming up, everybody, and everybody in this marathon, everybody in this community is really doing a great thing, and we're doing a good thing by raising money for Trans Lifeline. They really need it. We are genuinely saving lives, and I'm really happy to be able to contribute this as my part to that bigger effort on screen. And for everybody that I get to work with behind the scenes as well, I appreciate that work too, because it's just as important as all of this other stuff. So I already did some of my shout outs to the Final Fantasy X speedrunning community, so definitely go check them out. If you're interested in running this game, please let me know. I would be happy to point you in the right direction too. And yeah, if you're somebody who loves these games but just feels like, man, these are such long games, I could never learn to speedrun one, or I don't have the time to speedrun one. Things like the cutscene remover and maybe different categories or different options do exist out there. Speedrunning RPGs is valid and fantastic, and you should definitely figure out a way to make that happen if that's something that you think you would enjoy. So
join us.
Yeah, that's it for me. Wody, did you want to shout out anything else?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thanks for having me. Thanks moonblazewolf for inviting me to join on some commentary this Saturday morning. It was a lot of fun. Always, like I said, might be a newer runner, but I very much love and enjoy this run. Very passionate about it in the months I've been running. So thank you, of course, to the community. Thanks to everybody who donated. Very inviting. Please join us. Huge resurgence of Final Fantasy X speedrunning. I see runs all the time. I feel like people running the CSR because it's, you know, a much shorter run for most people to stomach of a game that they love from 20 years ago. So yeah, we're always happy to help and educate and teach. Yeah, and it's so fun to learn because there's a guide, and if you follow the guide step by step, your run will not die, and you will get to finish a run. And it's always like, it might take you 5 or 6 hours, but you'll have fun doing it, and it's really cool. So. Yeah. Wody, thank you so much. I know this is a really long run, and I'm sure your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you taking your time on a weekend to come out and do this for me on a Saturday morning of all things. So thank you as well. Yeah, it's my pleasure. All right, everybody else, keep enjoying the marathon. Let's go ahead and get it back to intermission, and we'll see you on the flip side.